ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our life, and we are going to be doing some party planning. How exciting is that? Not every day you get to plan a party, but hey, I think we should, get into it. You cozily laid across your bed, lightly dozing in the morning sun. You heard birds singing outside your window, and the occasional rush of the wind, but what you were really listening for was your phone. Any minute now. It was a little while later, when your ringtone cut through the silent bubble of your daydreams. You eagerly sat up and plucked the phone off the blanket by your side. Hey! A deep voice on the other end answered you with an almost threatening edge to their tone.
Hey!
Callie, do you know who this is? I am on the way to your house. You better be prepared. This situation normally would have been worrying if you hadn't been expecting to hear from your goofiest friend Terry, or if caller ID hadn't been invented yet. The two of you had important matters to discuss. That's why she was coming over today. You played along with our covert scheme. I do, and I'm ready for your arrival. Good, good. Now, this is the crucial matter of security. Is there anyone else in the room right now who might overhear this conversation? We are too close to the finish line to get our cover blown now. Glancing side to side, you observed your surroundings and cupped a hand to the side of your mouth with pride secrecy. No, I'm alone. Our mission is still intact. I knew I could count on my trusty cohorts. I'm equipped with fortitude to guard any classified information. You can trust me, You can trust me completely. Harry momentarily lost her serious tone and laughed. You could hear the smile in her voice. That I can. Just be certain you went towards your bedroom door and poked your head out. You can't hear a peep anywhere. So you popped back onto your bed. Yep, I can verify that we are all clear. Anyone trying to learn our secrets has failed in their mission.
Very nifty.
Excellent. All according to plan. It wasn't hard to understand why Terry was so invested. Tomorrow is Miranda's 19th birthday, and the occasion needed to be perfect. Usually the Eckarts host a party for their kids, but this year was different. Miranda had no clue that you, Terry, and Co were putting the whole shebang together. The pressure was getting intense. There was less than 24 hours before showtime. Miranda's friends and family were counting on the three of you. Terry dropped her game completely and got to the point. Are your mom's gonna let you borrow the car? I don't know.
Oh.
Oof. That's not good. Strained Terry's voice wiped your smile away. This wasn't originally a problem. Cove was supposed to be the driver, but his request for time off only allowed tomorrow, for the actual birthday. So you could rely on him to help decorate. But you and Harry were on your own today. We gotta figure out how to get to an actual party supply store. Yeah. It seems we reached the first crisis point. That was fast. We really shouldn't have put this off until the last minute. We had no choice. This was the easiest way to make sure Randy never caught on. She can't discover what we're orchestrating. If there's nothing for her to find at all, I can stand by that. And besides, I'm thinking way bigger than a bag of party streamers we can stuff away in a closet. I want to find something new, something fresh and cool, but what? Harry, I'm not sure what you're envisioning. What's fresh and cool? Ah! I know! Our party should have a theme. We can make all the food and decorations to match. It'll look nice. What kind of theme? I'm still working that it all out. That's fine. We still have a little wiggle room left on the clock.
Yeah.
Exactly! Now we have a direction, we can put our noggins together and figure out the perfect theme. And then we need to get all the stuff for it, and put the party together in the party room. Press your mouth pressed into a hard line. Having a theme wasn't exactly progress. That's just another thing you needed to get done on top of everything else. You kept that train of thought to yourself and chuckled. This event was going to be a Herculean feat, but you had faith in your friends, and together you'd find a way to make it work somehow.
So?
Oh, and don't forget, there's a small problem how we're getting to the store. That's a non-negotiable. We have to go today. This needs to be huge. Miranda's parties used to be big. She's always had the best birthday, at least before. Yeah. There was no way you could forget Miranda's birthday bashes throughout the years. They were a highlight of your summers. Though you had no idea that Terry had been attending them for just as long. You never knew who she was until high school, and it was strange to think that you were so close to meeting each other so much earlier, and now you were all buddies. Unfortunately, the past couple of years, things have been too difficult for an event that scale. Everyone was older, and 10 times busier during the summer. Harry groaned, understandably getting worked up over that struggle. Miranda doesn't even want presents! All she asked for was her friends and family to get together. We already had the perfect party room booked, and that was supposed to be the hardest part. Everyone from Miranda's parents to you and your friends pulled your money together to rent out an actual event space instead of having it at her house or a public park. For a while now, Miranda had been insisting that she didn't need anything, but none of you could pass up an opportunity to show her how much you all appreciated her. It isn't even because she's used to having big parties. You know, even if that's never happened before, this has to be as good as it can be. Harry's mumbling grew increasingly more upset. She didn't hide any ounce of her worry. What if this is the last time we celebrate together? A shiver crept down your spine. Harry's fear wasn't unbound. Who knew what any of your lives would look like from a year from now? Harry sniffled, her voice cracking with emotion. You couldn't do anything other than helplessly wait at the other end of the call. We need this to be our final big hurrah, just in case it is. You knew everything would be fine. The future may have seemed scary and uncertain, but it could get better rather than worse. Well, Harry sniffled, and her tone quickly regained her usual fire.
I'm on it.
My dad was about to drive me over, so I had the whole car ride to think about our dilemma. You put your brain to work too, and we'll have this solved, no sweat. Actually, I already have a solution for that, and his name is Baxter. Ah, that's right! I can't believe I didn't remember he has a car! You're a genius, Callie! Thank you very much. But do you think he would actually give us a lift? Yeah. He'd be thrilled. Even though you couldn't see Terry, you could easily imagine that she was nodding over this new possibility.
See you later.
That is the way. Alright, I gotta go. See you soon. The fate of Randy's birthday is up to you, me, and now our remaining hope, the Bee-Man. Bye! You hung up the phone and left it face down the blanket. You flopped across the bed as your thoughts wandered. You kicked your feet eager with growing excitement. Miranda was going to have a birthday that she would never forget in a million years. While you waited, you opened a half-dozen tabs online on your phone and kept scrolling through various images of party decorations. You kept pursuing until a text notification popped up. I'm here. The doorbell rang as your feet hit the floor. You hurried downstairs and opened the front door.
Hi.
Hey, buddy! The party committee meeting is officially in season. Starting aside, you gestured for Terry to come in. She strolled inside and went towards the living room. Then Terry pivoted on her heel and folded her arms. All business. So, I have a message to Baxter about all this. We should ask him in person instead of a wall of text. It'd be super rude to hit up someone you barely know for a big favor. You know? It's gotta be face to face that we back the help. Fingers crossed he's home. We owe it to ourselves and Randy's birthday to try. Yeah. And if he's not there, we can still try something else. That is a start.
Okay.
There's no better time than the present. Let's go! Harry nodded towards the door she just came through. And you both probably left the house. Together you made a beeline for Baxter's condo and rang the bell. Harry gave the front door a knock for good measure. She wasn't taking a single risk that you might miss him by accident, as she declared. Harry crossed her fingers on both hands. The door opened a crack. Baxter curiously peeked out, and then swung it open the rest of the way. He smirked. Well, isn't this a familiar sight? The last time the pair of you came, it was for my number. I wonder what today's mission could be.
Yeah.
You're here! Harry loosened her bent fingers and threw her hands victoriously in the air. Amused, Baxter rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't realize I was missing, but yes. I'm here. I was simply getting ready to go out for the day. You turned your head away and tried to hide your smile. Of course. It was only now that he was making a move to go anywhere. It had to be at least noon before he would do anything out of the house. Although, even if I weren't home, you're welcome to call me. It's not my intent to be difficult to reach. Thanks, but we wouldn't want to interrupt you if you were busy. Harsh thought. It wouldn't be an interruption, it would be an improvement. You know I'd be thrilled to see you any time. Baxter's words were meant for Terry, but his gaze was only so on you. Harry's grin widened as her eyes crinkled. You knew her well enough to tell that she was psyching herself up. Her hands settled on her hips. Can you give us a ride someplace?
It's doable.
Yes, easily. He answered without missing a beat. Terry whooped, and Baxter brightened, pleased by her enthusiasm. May I ask where we're going? Baxter, my good friend, we are going to the Craft and Party Supply Store. A party store? What's the occasion? The way he parked up was great wonder. You could have sworn that his dark eyes were sparkling. Terry pressed a finger to her lips and winked. Shh! You can't tell anyone, but we're going to give Miranda the best birthday of her young life. Oh, that sweetheart is having her birthday so soon? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, on behalf of Randy, I thank you, and on behalf of me, I thank you again for providing transportation. We would have been stranded without you. Baxter graciously bowed his head. He picked up on the urgency and importance of what your team was asking. Now that I know what it's for, there's no way I could ever refuse. I'm honored to help.
So?
How are the preparations going? A tiny nervous laugh bubbled in Terry's throat. She glanced at you, scratching the side of her cheek. Well, we've got the room booked at a place big enough to hold a party. It's a private, oh my god. It's a grand private event that she's never had before.
Glad to hear it.
And that's great to hear. Yeah, we just need all the food and party stuff to go in it. I take it you don't have caterers or decorators arranged then? We are the caterers and decorators. Me and Callie, mostly, since Cove couldn't come along today. Ah, I see. Baxter idly tapped his fingers against his chin, his brow pinched pensively. Certainly, this can be done, so there's no reason to worry. But when is the event? Tomorrow! Terry's simple upbeat answer tore a gasp from Baxter. Bewildered, he slid a step backwards and grasped the fabric across his chest. This was easily the most dramatic reaction you had ever witnessed from him. There was nothing you could do to stop the snort and laughter that followed. Covering your mouth, you tried twisting away from your friends, but even the battle was lost. His reaction was too funny. He was too aghast to even notice. Tomorrow! It's tomorrow! And you only have a venue and 2 people! Nothing else, and this is going to be a grand affair! Baxter's mouth snapped shut. Following that outburst, neither you or Harry uttered a single word in response. The two of you shared a quick glance. Baxter took a deep, steadying breath through his nose. He slowly smoothed out the wrinkles in his shirt and exhaled. Once he was back composed, Baxter regained his usual confident air. He attempted to lightly chuckle, but you still caught the strain in his voice. You may have more problems than a lack of a vehicle, I'm afraid. Terry fidgeted, her fingers out of embarrassment, but she stood strong and explained the situation to Baxter. She repeated the thought process she walked you through before. I couldn't get the goods earlier, or Randy would have figured out what I was doing instantly. I couldn't risk it.
Sorry.
And even if I managed the impossible, she's always at my house. Not having anything to sniff out was the best way to keep everything a secret. We could have hung the decorations at my house, you know. Yeah, maybe. But it's too late for what ifs now. As long as we stay focused, it can happen. We've just got to buy the decorations today, and make the snacks, and then the desserts, and then we set it all up tomorrow for things kick off at noon, no problem. I tried to tell Terry this was a bad idea. We shouldn't have waited this long. I'm sorry, I didn't know! Baxter tugged at his collar, his mouth pressed into a careful apologetic smile. Everyone was feeling bad. I understand. You're facing a difficult situation, but keep your chin up. Things aren't cataclysmic yet, I suppose. Okay, forget it.
In that case...
Well, since I've attended a number of functions, I'll be delighted to offer advice and assistance, today and tomorrow. I can definitely do more than simply carting you to the store. No way, you're hired. Harry cheered this upswing of good luck. Baxter's eyebrows arched quizzically, and then you could see his growing amusement staring. Hired? Are you offering to pay me?
Nah.
But you can join our secret party team. That's priceless.
Very well.
I'll take it. His tone sounded even happier than his teasing boy for money. There was really no payment that would have made it more worthwhile. Baxter laughed and gestured towards the street. Let's discuss the details on the way. I imagine the store you have in mind isn't in town. Harry hopped towards the street, and partly twisted her heels. He tilted her head and smirked. Nothing's in this little beach town. With his hands in his pockets, Baxter stepped ahead, passing you to join Terry on the road. Had a few words as he crossed your path. Oh, I would have to disagree with that. Your skin grew warm, just from that slight brush with Baxter. My car is parked a short walk that way.
Oh yeah.
Alright, team, here we go! Baxter slipped inside the condo to grab his keys. You and Terry loitered in the empty street while you waited. He totally hit the jackpot. Did you see his face when he realized this was about a party? He probably has lots of ideas. I know. He was on board the second he heard what we were doing. Things are looking up. Baxter didn't take long to return and lock up. He followed him to his car, with a your step, and Harry slapped her palm to the front passenger's side door. There's my shotgun! You did not like that. Harry swung the door open. Your gaze shifted to a playful grin. You forced yourself to smile in return. Oh, okay. Harry plucked into the seat as you shuffled backwards to let her safely close the door. Across the car, you noticed Baxter watching you silently. He didn't say anything, and you both turned away to climb into your respective seats. Harry glanced at Baxter across the small space between them and winked. It'll be like you're chauffeuring Kelly because they're the VIP.
Yes.
Ah, yes. Where can we drive you today, Mix Wolf? Baxter buckled his seatbelt and then immediately began searching for a nearby craft and party supply store via GPS. Did you have a particular store in mind? Oh, that one! He pointed at the lower half of the screen, and Baxter wordlessly set her pick as the destination. With that said, the rest of you got comfortable and buckled in for the ride. Despite being a new guy in the area, Baxter confidently drove as if he had been traveling these roads his whole life. He followed the directions laid out for him, but he also kept a part of himself focused on the task at hand. Baxter kept the conversation focused on how he could better help you and Terry with the party. He didn't hesitate to be a key member of this operation. Considering you're working pro bono, I appreciate that you're taking the party planning seriously. Baxter laughed deeply. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. Is it a crime to take pride in my abilities?
No way.
Absolutely not. Keep it up. So, do we have an idea of what we're looking for? It's gonna not have a theme. The party can't just be a generic birthday bash. We're looking for something here.
Excellent.
Excellent. Having a specific design core makes it all the easier. Baxter answered with a pleased tone. He looked at the GPS. He turned the car at the intersection. And the theme is... we don't know. Somehow his smile remained perfectly in place. You imagine that he fully expected the lack of preparation at this point. Well, there are many concepts one can go with. For example, it's summertime and the classic style would be nautical. Or perhaps desert chic for California, if we wanted to take our location into account. Or, what about this? While summer is scorching on outside, the drinks are treated to a winter wonderland inside. That kind of unexpected, intentionally out of the season aesthetic can be quite fun. Exhaling deeply, Harry leaned the side of her head against the glass, and stared outside the window, mulling over Baxter's suggestions. She sank her front teeth into her warm lap. If none of those suffice, we can continue brainstorming. I don't know if any of those are right for Miranda. She doesn't care what's trendy or seasonal or what might impress her guests.
Understandable.
That's a good point. This isn't some party, it's Miranda's party. Unfortunately, I only met the woman this whole affair is for once. There's not much I can glean from that. I apologize. That put him at quite a disadvantage, despite his sincere intent to help. Browning, you felt somewhat similar. Nobody knew Miranda better than Terry, and that meant she should have the final say on these big decisions. Would you rather I stop proposing ideas? I'm sure whatever you think you'll enjoy the most will be wonderful. No! I need so much help! I don't even know what the party themes are. How am I gonna pick one? Okay then. Should I keep throwing out ideas until something sounds good to your ears?
Yeah.
Yeah, please! There's gotta be a theme that's perfect for her. I'll know it when I hear it. Very well. You could practically hear the gears moving in Baxter's brain. His expression scrunched up, and it was clear he was silently compiling a list. Oh, wait. What can you tell me about the venue? The colors, the size, the style. We can use that as a base to work off of. It'd be pointless to fall in love with a concept and realize it would clash with the room.
Sure.
Smart. I found the perfect place. It's pretty big. Imagine the space that's larger than the average living room. It's like 3 living rooms. She's got lots of family and plenty of friends coming, so we need it. There's gonna be a little dance floor in the center too. A dance floor? His eyes sparkled with excitement. You imagine the dance floor would be just as bright as tomorrow. Or will the event have any slow dancing? Who slow dances at a birthday party? It's not prom. Baxter's shoulders slumped in response, while Terry's surprised laugh morphed into a coughing fit. He sighed deeply. That's true. If only someone was getting married instead. There's always formal dancing at weddings. It's a shame that, as an adult, the only proper occasion to dance with a partner, besides a practice and competitions, is such an uncomfortable event. But, of course, this is outside of having your own actual partner, who you can go dancing with whenever you like. Your head tilted. Was that a hint? The two of you were dating. Did he want to go dancing with you? Or maybe there wasn't any intent behind his general statements. Next time there's a wedding, you're the first person I'm calling. Baxter laughed earnestly. His attention flickered up to the mirror for a moment. You are so considerate, Callie. Please, I'm counting on you to do that when the situation arises. I will, because then I can dance with you. Baxter grew quiet. You leaned forward in your seat and caught a hint of his brow raising in the mirror reflection.
Exciting.
You doubtfully flatter me. I'd be honored. But Baxter shook his head, ridding himself of his indulgent thoughts. His attention flickered to the map. Regardless, it wouldn't matter either way in this case. I apologize for getting us off track. How else would you describe the venue?
Very nifty.
It's shiny and pretty and pink! That does give a strong picture of what the presentation could be. It's limiting, but in a helpful way. Also,
I see.
the most obvious direction would be to make the entire theme simply pink. Harry snorted and tried to suppress her giggles, but she was instantly unsuccessful. Randy does like that color, but she doesn't feel the same way about it as you do with black and white. Now it was Baxter's turn to chuckle. That's fair. So, moving on. We have a pretty sparkly. What else? Is Miranda a fan of glitz and glamour?
Nope.
No, well, basically, no. Harry's brow furrowed, and she slowly deflated in her seat. Randy wouldn't like trying to be glamorous. That's not how she is, and she wouldn't know how to act if that's what the theme was. If that's so, then what about folks' high life theme? And what would that be? You sat forward, wondering what either of those two words were supposed to mean in terms of decorating a party. Let me think of the best way to articulate the premise. Imagine plastic champagne glasses filled with sparkling cider, and dainty desserts coated in shimmering dust so they shine. A chocolate fountain with fresh strawberries to dip, the colored lights, perhaps even feathered boas for the guests to wear. The idea is that nothing is truly extravagant. It's tongue-in-cheek, but with all celebratory fun of acting like a star on your special day. Not being that kind of a person would be part of the point. Cute and silly, basically. Harry sprang in her seat, vibrating with excitement. She turned to you, but she was still rendered speechless from Baxter's proposition.
What do you think?
Did I strike a chord? Ah! That'd be so fun! Randy loves to let loose and not being so serious, but she's definitely a star. It sounds as though we have a theme then.
Finally.
Yeah! It's all gonna come together now.
That's wonderful.
And we accomplished it without having to leave the car. Wow, Baxter, you really know your stuff. Seriously, you're awesome! It's honestly nothing special. I'm simply sharing some thoughts based on my experiences. It's nothing to you, but it is to us. The rest of the drive kept the secret party planning ball rolling, and the three of you took turns proposing suggestions of what you needed to track down at the store. When you arrived, the three of you entered the store fully focused on the mission, though you felt underprepared standing at the entrance, scanning the cluttered store in front of you. Shelves were piled with miscellaneous goods, and there was a strong smell wafting through the air. It was a mix of pink and scented something. Maybe a pine cone. Curling your fingers into fists, you steeled yourself for the task. It was going to be way too easy to get lost in the endless sea of bits and bobs calling out to you. The secret planning party team couldn't fail now.
Woo!
Come on, there's no time to waste! Harry took the lead, claiming the shopping cart and picking a direction. He pushed on ahead while you followed at Baxter's pace. It wasn't long before Harry was combing through a pile of knickknacks. Her fiery determination to make this birthday the best it could be was admirable. You were proud to be part of her grand plan. The group traveled down several aisles, picking up varieties of supplies that had been decided on during the drive. The right-shaped cups, plastic forks and spoons that resembled proper silverware, and the rest of the basics. You picked out some shiny tablecloths to replace the old checkered ones. And Terry found a few platters to serve desserts on. Next on the agenda was to locate what you needed to prepare the desserts. But before you could do any of that, Terry stopped in her tracks and pointed. Oh, look! Turning your head, you scanned the area until you landed on what you were seeing. Though in the distance were dozens of feather boas hanging over long hooks. They were fluffy and came in several bright, saturated colors. Grinning wide, Terry raced to the display and flung a ton of them in the cart. It was anyone's guess how many would be needed for tomorrow. Since there were only a couple of dollars each, Terry was sticking with the old tried-and-true method of best, safe, and sorry. Eventually, Haluchi uncovered a single, pure white boa. You instantly knew you needed that boa. It was perfect for Baxter. You grabbed it, mindful not to crush the delicate feathers. They were soft against your skin, while you examined them for any blotches of color. Luckily, the feathers were immaculate, so you added the boa to the growing pile in the cart. It soon became lost in a sea of rainbow. When Terry was satisfied, she stared at the cart. Everything you needed was selected before buried under the pile of boas. There was a lot more shopping to do. Maybe we should get a second cart.
I can do that.
I can agree more. You two can go to the cave for now, and I'll meet you there.
Thanks.
Thanks, wee man. Baxter hurried off to the end of the aisle and paused there, glancing back. Terry sent him off with a playful salute, and he answered with a wave. Don't get lost. We'll miss you. I'll try my best. After that, you and Terry ended up getting a bit turned around, but at long last you found the aisle with cake decorating supplies. Terry drove the cart back and forth, anxiously scanning the selection. So, what else are we gonna have? There should be cake, but there can't be all, right? Oh, cupcakes! Randy loves cupcakes! He does. We've gotta make a whole bunch now. Yeah. Terry mumbled contemplatively to herself, leaning against the carriage. She nodded once again. Then again. Oopsies. She nodded once. Then again. No! I'll try it. No. Black six. I'll try it. No, I must do it. Hold on. When are you gonna have time to make 2 desserts? Tonight after all the shopping or tomorrow when the entire room needs to be decorated? I can squeeze it in somewhere. I don't think so. They'll never get done. You make the cake, I'll take care of the cupcakes.
Really?
Really? Thanks, buddy. Terry dabbed an invisible tear from her eye, then placed a hand across her heart. No one could ask for a more loyal cohort. It's not only me. Baxter's pretty reliable too. He is. I'm so glad to have the B-Man. We literally wouldn't be here without him. Alright, so I've been thinking about making a confetti cake with vanilla frosting. Could you make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting? And make them all look pretty too? I got it. You added a thumbs up, and Terry excitedly pumped her fist.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna be a great party! With renewed enthusiasm, Terry picked out a couple of containers of gold and silver shimmer dust for the treats, and a packet of edible jewels and decorative stars. Terry reached up and snagged a big 19-shaped candle to go on top of the cake. Hands were rapidly getting full, and just in time.
Hello.
There you are. I've been searching for you two. He wheeled the new card over, but it wasn't empty. Sitting comfortably inside was a box chocolate fountain, a pack of wooden skewers, and a big bag of melting chocolate wafers to be used with it. Ooh! Terry leaned into the cart, examined the advertised features print on the box. Some of the package she was holding fell from her grasp and tumbled in with a clang. This is a good brand. It's not too loud. The music should cover the noise it does make, though.
Sure.
Bags for me! Terry released the remaining thing she was carrying into the carriage. They rained onto the unsuspecting fountain. You placed what you had inside next. Baxter just studied everything you picked out while he was gone.
You're good.
You have excellent taste. Those decorations are fantastic. Thanks! My cupcakes are gonna be almost too nice to eat. A piece for the eyes, then. Yeah, we got this in the bag. As you pass through more parts of the store, the three of you grabbed a few of the last-minute odds and ends. Somewhere along the way, Terry found a sash that said, "Birthday Girl." She eagerly snatched it and threw it across the pile of feather boas. He pointed out some oversized sunglasses next. Oh, good catch.
Very nifty.
Those totally fit the vibe. Nodding, you tossed a handful in the cart. From there, your team circled to the premise for a little while before deciding to check out your car and get your haul home. The register area you discovered wasn't built anything like the one at the supermarket. There wasn't a long conveyor to put stuff on, only a short counter space.
I apologize.
Sorry, this will be one moment. You flashed the cashier an apologetic smile, and you got to work piling up the dozens of party supplies from the two full carts. No one piece is particularly pricey, but with the amount of stuff you gathered, the total was skyrocketing. Even with the contributions from friends and family as a combined gift, it was going to be a close call. Harry's lips twitched as she tried not to frown. The display price grew higher, and there was still a mountain of things on the counter. Baxter stared at Harry, his brow furrowed. Then he reached over and plucked away the chocolate fountain skewers and the packet of chocolate. No, I want that. Don't worry. I'm going to buy this part myself. But it's not a necessary supply that you were anticipating. You would buy. And it was my idea on top of everything. I'll cover it. My treat. Or, rather, my gift for Miranda's birthday. I can't say no to that. Thank you so much! He gave her a pleased nod, then went to the end of the line, carrying the box under his arm. Baxter managed to get through the line, stopped at a different register, and complete his purchase well before you and Terry were through. He waited awkwardly off to one side of the check-in area with his bag. After the poor cashier dug themselves out of the pile of sparkly and feathered goods, you called up to him with the two carts neatly packed with bags. As you were leaving, a voiceover announced the store would be open for only another 30 minutes. Terry glanced at the overhead speaker in shock.
Oh.
Whoa. I knew we were here for a while, but not that long.
It's settled.
I'd say this was a successful trip. This was a massive success. Yeah, it was worth it. Your party planning committee exited the store and made your way through the parking lot. Together you had to fill the trunk and a part of the back seat. We'll take the carts back. Yeah, we've got it. I'll stay put here then. Baxter leaned against the car as you rolled away. The sky was dark and the night air felt invigorating after being in the stuffy, overly scented store. There was a pep in your step, now that you weren't weighed down by party supplies. Harry shot you a mischievous grin, and then raced past you across the pavement. You dashed ahead to beat her to the storefront. Despite her head start, you closed the distance quickly. In the final stretch of the dash, you shoved your cart to victory. Then you returned to the car together. Baxter stood up, smoothed his shirt before opening his door. I was thinking, since Terry got to sit up on the front on the way here, I'd prefer if Kelly got a turn to ride for the ride home. No prob. Terry hopped into the car with her heaps of treasures, wrapping her arms around the side of the bags like a dragon sleeping with its pile of gold. Terry fished out her phone and messaged her parents that she was ready for them to pick her up. She explained if they left now, then her mum or dad would be at your house by the time the three of you returned. After that, you simply needed to enjoy the comfortable, quiet ride to your neighborhood. All that shopping ended up being far more exhausting than any of you anticipated. After a brief, uneventful drive through the sleepy streets, you arrived home to find a van parked outside. As you approached, you recognized the shade of green paint, that characteristic dent in the rear fender. Harry leaned out the window and hollered cheerily. Alright! You made it! Away from the driver's side window, it was Terry's parents come to pick her up as planned. This is great! We can take most of the stuff home in the van. Terry dragged a thumb towards the piles of party paraphernalia polished precariously in the back of the car. I figured they could stay there until tomorrow. My old folks said we could borrow the van to take everything to the party venue anyway. It's like we planned it or something. Baxter silently nodded, pulling alongside Terry's parents.
Is that fine?
Well, since we're transferring the surprise from one vehicle to another, we might as well minimize the distance. Terry, would you mind? He gestured towards the rear of the van. Terry nodded and hopped out to let Mom know it was safe to pop the trunk. While you left your seat, Baxter opened his own car, then gave Terry's mom and dad a friendly wave. Thus began the daunting task of unloading. Terry's parents noticed how much stuff you ended up bringing back, and soon they were also lending a hand. With the 5 of you, the seemingly endless stack of party goods was defeated within a short minute. With all 5 of you, the seamlessly endless stack of party goods was defeated in a few short minutes. I think that's the last of it. Many hands truly do make light work. You let out a sigh of relief, stretching your arms. They had gone sore from all the heavy lifting, in spite of the help. A bow down before the awesome and terrible power of teamwork. Terry wasn't even remotely out of breath. She could do the whole thing over again without breaking a sweat. You counted yourself lucky she didn't threaten to do just that. Her sense of humor could be wild sometimes. Baxter leaned against the closed rear door of the van, casually addressing Terry and her parents. Are you fine people heading home now? It's getting late. A trio of assenting noises followed.
Yeah.
Yep, we've got everything for tomorrow. Oh, hold on a sec. She marched over to where you stood and planted her feet on the sidewalk with intent. She stood to attention, as though suddenly in the middle of a military parade. You could see she had an object clutched in her right hand. Though it was difficult to make out in the dust, he must have taken out one of the shopping bags from earlier. As soon as I get home, the next stage of our mission commences. Don't worry about me, though. It'll be... Here it comes. A piece of cake! You lifted one of your hands and dropped the item into it. 3 shimmering cylinders of confectionery glitter. Of course, there was still work to be done tonight. Baking. You are raring to go. You clutched the little plastic tubes of glitter tightly, giving Terry an enthused mock salute. Aye aye, Captain. Good luck and see you tomorrow.
See you later.
I'll swing by to pick you guys up at 7 a.m. in the morning. Okay? Party starts at noon, and we're going to need all the time we can get. With a skip and jump, Terry was already clambering into her parents' van. She waved enthusiastically as the sliding door closed. After retreating to a safe distance, you and Baxter watched as the van pulled out and headed off the street. It was surprising it could move anymore with all the extra weight. A glow of headlights grew distant, then faded into the night like a late summer dream. All was quiet for a pause. Then, Baxter spoke. I understand there's one more job left to take care of then. You know, down at the clear containers you were still clutching in your hand. Yep. Still gotta take care of some stuff, but I'll get safe eventually.
To be honest.
Well, I cannot say I'm surprised you aren't finished. It's a tall order arranging an event at short notice. Not that I'm criticizing your attempt in the slightest. It's honestly admirable to see the commitment. But I'm getting off topic. What's next on the agenda? He explained to Baxter the situation of the party food. He'd volunteered to make chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting, while Harry would do the real birthday cake. It was relatively simple order, at least. No last-minute meringues for Miranda. She had survived this disappointment. The edible fox metallic glitter that Terry handed you with the final layer of decoration. A touch of pizzazz that would transform the basic cupcakes into something more to theme. Baxter touched his hand to her mouth, nodded in your agreement. Baxter touched a hand to his mouth, nodded in agreement as you explained. Of course, a pleasing appearance is hardly the most critical factor. A poorly baked dessert would still taste bad, no matter how it looked. But a little flair can elevate a thing beyond itself. I suppose you could say it's the icing on the cake. Baxter coughed quietly into his fist, as though to muffle a laugh. Harry had rubbed off him, clearly. Regardless, that sounds to be a marvelous idea, though slightly less marvelous how given the tight schedule is. It's getting late. There was no denying that. His thoughtful expression was obscured by the darkness surrounding the both of you. Here's what I suggest. Why don't you come over to my house to do it? I can give you a hand with the preparation, if you think I'll be of any use. Farrell often and readily Baxter always offered his service. You shouldn't have been taken aback by this gesture, and yet you still found yourself wondering, why? Baxter had clearly anticipated your reaction, cutting off the question before you could ask it. He made a gesture as if he was looking at his wristwatch. Of course, he didn't wear one. It's nearly 10 p.m. Your family wouldn't exactly thank you for baking at this late at night. Noise is one thing, the smell would be another. And besides, your fridge might not have enough free space. Leaving the cakes out all night might spoil them. My fridge in the fridge in my condo is, well, there's plenty of room. Baxter's direction had gained a faint, quavering edge, like he was skirting around a nervous giggle. It's empty, in fact. I conveniently have an empty fridge in a conveniently empty house. Perfect. When you put those terms together, it made total sense. Baxter did have a lot of foresight when it came to these things. It was impressive he always thought that far ahead. He agreed it was an opportune set of circumstances. But he talked about how empty his temporary home was. It struck you that Baxter sounded a little sad. It must be quiet all alone in that house. Maybe that was why he was always so willing to come spend time with you, or the other people he knew around her. Alright, so long as you promise not to sneak any bite of the cupcakes before tomorrow. I wouldn't dream of it. Scout's honor. You can think of anyone on Earth less likely to have been a Boy Scout than Baxter. But you reasoned that Scout honor was a universal sort of a concept, like a 5-second rule. Then, you're in. Baxter clapped his hand together. He fully committed himself to the cause, and was ready to put a plan in motion. Excellent. Let's get cooking, shall we?
Very well.
You'll have to retrieve ingredients from your house, since I don't have anything myself. The kitchen is outfitted, however. The kitchen is fully outfitted, however, so you needn't bring any equipment. If you want to take things, chez toi, I can begin prepping the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. Sure thing! And so you briefly split up. Baxter walked briskly to his rented condo, while you made your way speedily home. The night was still young, sort of. And so were you. What was a little harmless sleep deprivation between friends? What kind of person even got tired at 10 p.m. anyway? Not you, that was for sure. When you came in, you spied your mom sitting around the living room. They were huddled up on one of the couches, luxuriating in another's company after a day's work. Ma's head rested on her wife's shoulder, while Mom brushed fingers lightly through her hair. They could have been a famous sculpture or a painting sitting there. It was hard to witness your parents like that sometimes. Not because it was embarrassing, although some people might have seen it that way. Your moms were a thing of tremendous gravity in your life. You were fledgling they had fed and clothed and cleaned after. Your fledgling they had fed and clothed and cleaned up after and loved for years and years, and soon you'd be taking flight. You'd be gone. Maybe that's why you found yourself glancing down the hardwood floor beside your mom's. It was a lot to take in at 10 p.m., to be honest. But the sound of the front door alerted them both to your presence. The two halves of that art moved in alignment and turned. Welcome back, sweetie. Nice of you to drop by, Callie. Will you be staying with us long? A classic mom joke. You babbled the whole Carrie's organizing a last minute party for Randy. Don't tell anyone. Been out all day, and by the way, I need to make cupcakes for tonight's situation. Not to mention I'm going over to Baxter's house. Do we have any ingredients I can use in the situation? There was a whole lot of situation to cover.
That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely wonderful, Callie. I'm sure Miranda will be delighted. You're all working so hard. It's getting late though, and you've been gone for most of the day. Ma was eyeing the wall clock and giving you a playful pout. Are you sure you don't want to call it a night and let your mom and me handle the baking? You shook your head, declining the offer. Miranda was your friend, and you'd given Terry your word that you'd take care of it. Besides, it wasn't as if your moms hadn't also worked today. Ma's tiny frown deepened. Not disappointed. Ma's tiny frown deepened, so disappointed to not be allowed to baby you. But it was all in good humor.
Fine.
Alright, we won't push it. So long as you're okay. So long as you're sure Baxter's okay with you wreaking havoc in his immaculate kitchen. Mal let out an unbridled snort. He's a teenager living on his own, Pam. How immaculate could that kitchen be? You opened your mouth to defend Baxter, and all other teenagers, before realizing that was hardly counted on if the only reason he had a clean kitchen was that he never used it in the first place. If his tone made Elliot was anything to go by, he'd probably even thank you for making a mess. It might brighten up the place. He didn't say any of this to your moms, though. He made it clear to them that Baxter had assured you it was A-OK, that it was his idea to begin with. After all, he had been insisting on helping, like certain other people you could mention. This mollified your parents, though, they teased. They were acting entirely out of consideration for your temporary neighbor. Too bad Baxter would had outconsidered them already. I understand. You'll handle it like grown-ups you are. At least let us gather the ingredients together before you go. Pam, do you think you can get the...
Sure thing.
Working on it! Mom headed towards the kitchen and poured out things out of the cupboards. Your mom and I actually already have some leftover boxes of chocolate cake mix from... Oh, I forget what it was now. But you're welcome to take it all, honey. That should save you some time at least. The frosting will have to be made fresh. But I always find that the easiest part. Oh! And we also have Mom's armchair behind the fridge door, putting a large tub of cream cheese. He placed it next to a row of bright red boxes of cake mix and half a dozen eggs on the counter. You should take some extra muffin tins too, just in case. If Baxter's oven is big enough, you can bake multiple batches at once instead of doing it in stages. You might not need it, but being prepared never hurt anyone. Her mom paused, a thoughtful look on her face. Unless you're making a plan to, say, assassinate someone, then your preparations would need to be designed to... Pamela! The muffin tins! Right, the muffin tins. We can have you two take along cupcake liners too. While they were only meant to help, your mom did all the work and the supplies, and soon you found yourself ready to head over to Baxter's condo. They kissed you one on either cheek, and shooed you enthusiastically out of the door. You hurried across the street, lugging your cargo in 2 large grocery store branded totes. Once up the front steps to Baxter's house, you gingerly rearranged things so you were able to grab the doorknob, as promised. Baxter had left it unlocked. The panel of light spread over your feet, steeling yourself in preparation for the last stretch of the interminable day. You gripped the bag handles tighter and stepped inside. stepping briskly through the entry. You recalled Baxter's condo had a kitchen directly opposite the main living room. You made your way straight over there. Baxter was waiting for you beside the fridge, and swiveled around when he heard you enter. Ah, you're here. Excellent. Welcome, welcome.
So?
Were you able to find everything we need from your house? Many places might be closed this late, but I'm not opposed to a trip to the grocery store if necessary. You unceremoniously hauled the 2 large bags of stuff onto the kitchen counter, though, being extra careful to not squash the eggs, wiped your brow in exaggerated fashion. Look up! I managed to lug everything over here. You both made a start unpacking the bags of ingredients, but before you could get very far, there was a sudden exclamation from Baxter. In your hands were 2 boxes of cake mixture.
Hallelujah.
Oh, hallelujah. I was hoping you'd bring something similar. That genuinely glad. Being that genuinely glad, you couldn't help but let your eyes widen in surprise. Do you mean tell me that Baxter Ward is somehow not a master baker in disguise? I thought you could do everything. Baxter sheepishly raked a hand through his iconic colored hair. Practically speaking, I actually haven't the faintest idea of what kind of baking I'm capable of. Though that probability suggests that it's unlikely to be much. Tell you the truth, I've never baked before in my entire life, whether using pre-prepared mix or not. I only imagined that this way would be easier. Eventually. That's okay. I'm pretty good at it myself. Although, to be honest, decorating isn't exactly my forte. Yeah, considering with Cove's gift, we literally just dumped a bunch of icing all over the cinnamon rolls. Yeah. Baxter's mouth lifted in an impish little
My
smirk.
pleasure.
In that case, we can lean on each other. 2 heads are better than one. And all that. At least that's the theory. We must soldier on either way. Speaking of which, let's get baking, shall we? You finished unpacking the remaining ingredients, lining them all up carefully on the countertop. Baxter took the second bag and did the same. That reminds me, I might have been a bit hyperbolic when talking about how bad my fridge is earlier. It's not as if the thing is completely empty. At the time, I wanted to assure you that it wouldn't be any trouble for you to come and make use of it. And there definitely is plenty of room.
Of course.
I'm not completely incapable of providing basic hospitality. But I'm not completely incapable of providing a basic level of hospitality. If you ever get hungry or thirsty, let me know. This news came to relief to you. Probably not for the reason that Baxter was expecting. Sure, it was great you wouldn't starve while you were here, but mostly that you're glad Baxter wasn't living on his own with nothing to eat in the house. That mental image had been so lonely. You thanked Baxter for the offer, although you weren't in the mood for anything at the present. At some point in the conversation, Baxter rummaged around the cupboard and added a third muffin tray for the 2 of yours. The kitchen happened to be supplied with one of these already, but I thank you for bringing spares in case of an emergency. As often happened in your life, you found yourself offering a prayer of thanks to your mom for reminding you of the blindingly obvious. Oh, right, about that. We'll never get anything done if we only bake 1 tray at a time. If we use all the trays, the batch will be done faster. Your oven should be big enough. Baxter's eyebrows lifted a fraction in surprise. That's true. There should be enough space. The pans aren't terribly large. I'll double check. He picked up one of the trays, walked over to the oven, and opened it up. He put it inside, took it back out, and tried putting it in again longways. Then he nodded, apparently satisfied. Yes, that'll do. If we use more than 1 shelf, 3 dozen cupcakes at once, we could almost start a bakery. He was more than a little tickled by the idea, so you refrained from pointing out that he would have to know a bit more about baking to actually run one.
Alright.
No, not necessarily. He can man the register, serve pre-made food. You know, you only need one person to really cook. Two more is just a bit more useful. Another man squared away then. Where shall we begin? Without saying another word, you tore into the cake mix. We'll start with the batter. We'll start with the batter, which is the mix plus water, oil, and eggs. Normally you use milk, but the mix we're using has powdered milk in it to begin with, so water is good. I see. I should take notes from my player self. I don't use box mix that often though. Considering I have a bunch of ingredients scattered around my own house, I tend to just get crafty. Like with my coffee and banana bread cake. Which I'll completely ban. I cut that off. Yeah, I'm glad I did that. Like, I kinda had leveling, but I use a bread knife, which works perfectly. I see. We also need to set the oven to preheat to 350 Fahrenheit. I use an air fryer, so I don't need to. But if anyone was wondering, 350 Fahrenheit is pretty much 176.667 degrees Celsius, but 180 works just as well. If not a bit better. I'd have to just specifically set the oven to that specific thing. Excellent. That's relatively straightforward. The pair of you promptly made a start, measuring out the ingredients into a mixing bowl that didn't present any real challenge. Baxter insisted on cracking the eggs. Even I know how to do that much. With everything together in one bowl, you started to stir it together using a wooden spoon. Now, I don't know how most people crack their eggs nowadays, but I just drop it on the counter and then split it in half, because it's already got a crack in it. Works great. While you're mixing the batter, Baxter diligently placed 36 miniature paper cupcake liners into the tins. Once he was finished, he came to peer over your shoulder into the bowl. Is it ready? He gave a firm nod. You had the batter at a good, even consistency. Moderately thick while being runny enough to pour.
What do you think?
How are you meant to get into the trays? A spoon, perhaps? A serving spoon would do fine, although a rubber spatula would come in handy. Began the bits of... Although a rubber spatula would come in handy, began the last bits of batter out of the bowl. He picked them both out of the utensil drawer, portioning out the batter into the cupcake tins, where things started to get more involved. You took care of filling the 2 tins you brought from home, while Baxter made the effort to fill his own tin by himself. He managed to get the back to sit in evenly in all the cases without spilling, and Baxter's pan didn't fare so well. His Baxter portions were uneven. Some of the mixture had dribbled off the spoon onto the tray, which had to be wiped down. He mumbled a quiet apology, clearly embarrassed, but you squished it with an encouraging grin. He performed his duty, and you were grateful for the help. Baxter cautiously lifted the trays one at a time into the hot oven, placing 2 on one shelf, beside the last one underneath. Then he checked the instructions again, and set a timer on his phone. There was enough cake batter left to fill another 2 trays, at a rough estimate, but the 3 in the oven were all you had. So you covered the bowl with shrink wrap and put it in the fridge. By this point it was nearly 11 o'clock, but Baxter remained perky and chipper as the night wore on. It didn't come as a surprise at this point, since you knew full aware. It didn't come as a surprise by this point, since you knew full well that he was a proven night owl. While the cakes were in the oven, you had take care of the next. While the cakes were in the oven, you had to take care of the frosting next. You could remember the recipe without any trouble. Ma was right. It was one of the easier parts of making a cake, all told. You recited the necessary ingredients aloud. As you went down the list, Baxter forged around the countertop and handed the named items to you, which you added to a mixing bowl. Then he dove under the counter for a moment and popped back up, holding a handheld electric whisk. He inserted the two metal beaters into the mixture and switched to a low setting. Then you turned the whisk on. Once the mixture was soured, you gradually upped the speed. Once again, Baxter was rather awestruck by the ease with which you handled the process. He had been given the electric whisk another side eye ever since it was brought out. Huh. If I had been in charge of that device, a dusting of sugar would have been our last concerns. We might have spent the entire night scraping cream cheese off the walls. You chuckled, and continued to smooth out the spread. While you dote on the bowl, Baxter had been peeking around the side of you with interest, leaning closer to get a better look. It was a touch closer than it might have been considered strictly polite, but there was something about the proximity of his body that made it harder than usual to concentrate on the task at hand. You certainly didn't mind per se, but still, you were operating a dangerous equipment here. You could easily pick out the smell of his aftershave. Swallowed. At some point, he concluded that he was hurting you overmuch, so he took a few small steps to a safer distance. He lounged against the far counter, trying to make it appear as though he always intended to do so. Baxter worked hard behind the scenes to give off the impression that everything he did was totally effortless. Maybe if it came from being a dancer. You pondered those things during the tedious mixing process. It was so cute. Of course, you already knew Baxter was pretty adorable. It wasn't too long before you had the frosting looking halfway decent, and turned the whisk off. Baxter took that as his cue to come back over, smiling pleasantly.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking care of that, Callie. Come on, it was a team effort. You're too kind. I suppose we can say I provided emotional support then. I had originally planned to put the frosting in the fridge while we wait for the cakes to finish, though it might make it too difficult to spread on later. What do you think? You had been about to say the same thing, so he merely nodded in approval. It was nice to see that he was beginning to figure things out. At this point, you were inclined to relax a bit. Even with the frosting taken care of, the comforting smell of bacon in the air, Baxter was in the mood to keep himself busy. In fact, your success with the cakes, however relative that success might have been, had put him in an industrious frame of mind. He watched as he cheerfully donned a pair of rubber gloves, black of course, and began to fill the sink with water in order to wash the bowls and other baking equipment. While the faucet was running, he also took out some cloths and surface cleaner with the intent of wiping down the countertops wherever there was where there were traces of cake mix, powder, and batter. You left him to it. He seemed to be entertaining himself. He hummed quietly under his breath while this formless serenade. The way he moved along with the lit of melody made him seem to be drifting in a world of his own. Suddenly there was a bright tinkling sound. It jarred you out of what thought you had been having. Baxter's hand went to his back pocket. The timer on his phone had run out.
Exciting.
The cakes are done. He was genuinely excited by the prospect, hastily jabbing at his screen to turn off the alarm. Then, grabbing a nearby pair of oven mitts with a picture of cats on. They must have belonged to the owner of the condo, rather than Baxter, since the fabric was a deep red color. The cats were all black and white, though. I suppose that counted. Carefully, cautiously, eased the 3 baking pans out of the oven, placing them one by one onto the granite counter. He even recalled which of them had gone in first, second, and third, removing them in proper order. The cakes looked good. They had risen uniformly. The color was a nice, rich chocolate brown. They hadn't dried out either. You could see a faint, moist sheen on the surface. You chimed up as you admired your handiwork. Do you have anything to go under the pans? Protect the counter, I mean. Oh, that is a good point. I don't think there's anything here, though. It should be fine. Hopefully. The stone is real. It's not veneer over less sturdy material. Baxter stared down at the cakes, his face thoughtful. Then he removed the oven gloves, folded them on the tabletop, and pinched the bridge of his nose, eyes closed.
So,
I dread to ask, but how many of these were we supposed to make? I've only now realized I never asked Harry how much food she needs. Oh, you hadn't thought of that. While it had been decided you'd bring the cupcakes, Harry never said how many in quantity. He simply wanted another dessert beside her cake. He explained as much to Baxter. He breathed in through his nose, then sighed deeply and opened his eyes. Perhaps that's because Harry doesn't know herself. That's understandable. This whole party was extempore to begin with. I do hope 36 is enough. Even with a spare batter, we don't have enough time to prepare another batch. If they're not cool and to be frosted before the event. I must extend my thanks once again that your family fared. I must extend my thanks once again that you brought your family's spare tins over. Otherwise, the crowd would be fighting the paltry 12 cupcakes. You're welcome. We got lucky. Speaking of your family, you check the clock on your phone to see how late. Speaking of your family, you check the clock on your phone to see how long ago you bade them farewell. Wow. It had already gone past midnight. You couldn't believe it had gone so late. You couldn't even start frosting the cakes until the cakes had cooled, which might take another hour or more. He put the phone down, glancing in Baxter's direction. You're acutely aware he was doing you a favor, more than one for the matter. And you didn't want to further impose if that'd be an issue. You decided to put the question to him directly, as much as you were able. What would be worse, staying up later to finish everything tonight, or getting up bright and early tomorrow morning? Baxter scrunched up his face, his boyish nose wrinkled, in distaste. Waking early, no question. Of course, you knew he'd say that before you asked, but you wanted to give him a choice. It's fine. Don't worry. I will stay awake as long as needed to see this endeavor through. It's fine, don't worry. I will stay awake as long as needed to see this endeavor through. I understood what I was signing up for when I offered to help, more or less. Though I don't mind if you head home and get some rest. I can idle around until the cakes are set. And then, well, the rest. Until today, I've never baked before. And by extension, I am 99% certain I've never frosted a cake before either. But I can manage. He cleared his throat, crossing his arms with finality. The point is, I don't intend to quit until the end. The bitter but hopeful, not bitter taste in the end. Well, after such a rousing speech, I can't exactly abandon you.
I appreciate the understanding.
We couldn't leave anyway! Literally, look at our options. We can't leave. Even if we wanted to, we can't.
I appreciate the understanding.
I appreciate it greatly. And both your continued company and your help will get through this. What was it? The awesome and terrible power of teamwork? Bow down? Of course. All hail. The commitment made We decided to put the cakes in the freezer for a short while to help speed the cooling process along. The 3 tins fit snugly inside, nothing left to do but wait. This was actually pretty fun. Oh? There's no need to sound quite surprised about it, but I agree. It's been a delightful experience on the whole. Baxter pressed firmly against the freezer door, making positively sure that it had been shut. He then tapped at his phone and set another timer. Full guns in your direction.
Well,
Since we need to wait a while longer, why don't we take this opportunity to rest? You're welcome to use the couch or chair in the living room. He ran a finger around his collar before putting a hand to his forehead, pantomiming fatigue. I must say, trying to keep up with you is taking a toll on my stamina. I am starting to feel the effects. Maybe I'll stretch my legs in the lounge for a bit. Of course. Go right ahead. Oh, before you go. He held up a hand, gesturing vaguely about it. I had almost forgotten where we were. I'll join you shortly. But can I bring you something refreshing to drink? I was about to get myself a little something. What are you having? He tapped a finger to his chin and made a non-committal sound. You'll find out soon enough. This was rather unusual. Privately observed, Baxter would never normally dodge a direct question. He was always straightforward, even unnecessarily so, as Pope might say. Oh well, no losing sleep over it. Not when you're losing so much already tonight. You made your way to the sitting area, uncurling your toes and stretching out your calves as you went. You didn't need its room for its intended purposes. The house was built on an open plan to the extent you could still see Baxter in the kitchen from where you were waiting. He opened one of the cabinets and took out something that suspiciously like one of the plastic champagne flutes that you and Harry had brought earlier today. Except that one was real glass. From the fridge, he fetched a large green bottle from the side shelf, which he hadn't spotted before. He needed to screw a cork off the top. Out pours the fizzy liquid, pale golden color. You're actually drinking? In front of our newborn cupcakes?
yes.
Correct. The reply came immediately, without so much as a glance in your direction. He had no compunction about what he was doing. Can I try some? Baxter finally looked over to you, a wry smirk on his face. Then he reached into the cabinet again, retrieving a second champagne flute.
Hmm?
I hate to be a bad influence, yet it'll be hypocritical. I'd hate to be a bad influence, yet it'd be hypocritical not to offer you the same opportunity to misbehave that I afford myself. And I'd hate that even more, especially poor manners. Trust me, Baxter, you're not influencing me in the slightest. You are but a means to an end. I have labored long and hard, and I only want your strongest potions. Without another word, Baxter poured a fresh glass, taking them both in his hands. He carefully navigated his way out of the kitchen, having to stand alongside you, you teased out and on one of your shoulders. He took the drink he held. Then, he clinked your glasses together, and raised the one he had to his mouth. I won't tell if you won't. His lips curled mischievously. But hey, look at me. Thanks. There was no but hey. I don't know where that came from. But look at me, drinking on the job. What a shameful way to start my new party finding occupation. Pro bono, naturally. Wait until you see what he has in store. In his ending. Cheers, Callie. He took a long, slow sip of his champagne, closing his eyes and savoring the taste. He smacked his lips and let out a little low of enjoyment. That hits the spot. Much better than that thing they call a baby Bellini. Though you wouldn't have admitted it, the laid-back manner with which he handled such an analytic topic was rather bewildering. Maybe you had a bit of a soft spot for the bad boys. The thought snagged on something Baxter had said months ago. His joke about drinking while on the clock. In a certain sense, he reasoned it. It wasn't much of a joke after all. He had readily committed to helping you, and Terry organized Miranda's party at extreme short notice. He dedicated himself to the endeavor, not just today, but tomorrow as well. All of that for a group of people he'd only recently come to know. So, this party prep, pretty unique experience, huh? Baxter didn't meet your gaze, his eyes wandering around the room as he gently swallowed the champagne glass in his. Oh my god. Baxter didn't meet your gaze, his eyes wandering around the room as he gently swallowed the champagne in his glass. He took another slow sip before answering, intentionally dramatic.
My pleasure.
Indeed. This process has been wonderful. This process has been a wonderful thing to participate in, despite the rather hectic nature of the task. I couldn't have devised a more pleasant way to spend my time here, even if I tried. And to be frank, I had tried. I didn't condescend that bird totally to be devoid of any plans or ideas. You and your friends have invited me to participate in an event with great significance to you. It's a profound gesture to show a relative stranger. When it's over, and I am long gone from here, I hope you can all look back on this treasure. Oh my god. I hope you can all look back on this party for years to come, maybe for the rest of your lives, and treasure the memory. And, if I'm part of that memory, then that is satisfaction enough. Though, perhaps I'm in danger of giving my contribution too much credit. He was smiling, but it was mute, distant thing, like a car headlamp seen a long way off, ready to turn a corner. It felt akin to a farewell, even though he wasn't leaving yet. The glimmer was gone. His eyes met yours, over the rim of his champagne flute.
You know.
Besides, I'm on vacation. I have nothing but day after day of generous free time. It'd be silly to begrudge myself if it's being used, especially if it's easier for me. This party is only a party from my perspective, which means I can put my head back and simply bask in the occasion with the highs and lows. Being your friends, this is important. It has weight. I have to say, I'm curious about the situation. You and Harry both determined to make this big event, but for all that, it seems a rather one-off affair. Not wishing to sound critical, but if you were in the regular habit of throwing each other parties, I would have expected the preparation. Well, the preparation.
To be honest.
Is there something specific about the birthday that warranted such a special affair? You found yourself taken aback by this. It wasn't like you had thought about it either. You had been doing so much early tonight. The rush of to get all the ingredients and baking the cakes. You'd been distracted since then. All at once, the feeling you'd suppressed bubbled back up to the surface. This might be the last birthday we get to celebrate together. I've been part of basically my whole life. Harry and Randy not as long. No, they're born to me. Then we'll be grown up, and we'll head off to different places in life. Nothing we can do to change that. But Harry was so determined to go out with a bang. I can't let her shoulder the burden on her own. We have to do what we can for each other, while we still can anyway. As he listened to your explanation, Baxter regarded you with a soul and expression. There was a pinch in his forehead where his eyebrows had come together. He was all sympathy.
I'm sorry.
Sorry you're going through a difficult experience. I wish I knew how to alleviate matters. It's so uncertain. Sadly, there are few, if any, guarantees in the world. Or rather, such is the case for the vast majority of us. I can believe there are people who can remain close to each other in spite of distance of years between them. Those who will remain in your life always. His countenance had softened.
I believe you will find those kinds of people.
Don't do this to me when I'm trying to read the previous thing. His countenance had softened, a faint hopefulness lighting his face as moonlight on water. He spoke with tenderness.
I believe you will find those kinds of people.
I believe you will find those kinds of people, Allie. I really do. And, while nobody can say for sure, I would bet you already have. I hope you can have someone like that as well.
Thank you.
You are too kind. I'm a skeptic, so I won't hold my breath yet. But you can say what this. You are too kind. I'm a skeptic, so I won't hold my breath yet. But who can say what life has in store for us? Maybe it was partly due to the lateness of the hour, or the ordeal you were both waiting for, but you were overcome with a strong surge of affection for Baxter. You would be the first to play it down, but you knew the memories of your time with him were going to be fresh as deep. You slowly drew closer and kissed him. As you pressed your lips to his, Baxter responded somewhat hesitantly at first. You feel his hands hovering his breadth above your forearms, like he wasn't certain what to do. Gradually, he eased into it, holding you gently while moving his mouth against yours. There was an uncharacteristic nervousness to his touch. When you pulled away, you saw his eyes had narrowly opened. Baxter let out a heavy breath, pressing a hand to his sternum. His pale complexion was stained with a vibrant flush. It was such a captivating color, in contrast to his usual monochrome. He cleared his throat and leaned away to place his champagne flute on one of the coffee tables nearby, eyes avoidant.
Yes.
Perhaps it's best not to get too distracted while we decorate the cakes. After all, drunk, for that matter. This was directed inwards as much as it was to you. Hello, Mama. An attempt to calm himself. There was a long pause. The only sound was a faint whisper of a car passing by, the gargle of the fridge from the kitchen. The two of you jumped in surprise as Baxter's phone went off in a shell of the night. It was the alarm he had set when you put the cakes in the freezer. He shakily turned it back off and got up from his seat. A few seconds hesitation then. Wow. Well now, those cupcakes had better be ready for us. It had the vaguely dangerous quality of a threat, which was so absurd after a few minutes that you couldn't help but giggle. You made sure to follow Baxter, springing your step as you went. But this was it, the final stretch before the finish line. You left the living room and returned to the kitchen, where Baxter popped open the freezer door. Retrieved the bowl of frosting and plastic back piping along with the tubes of glitter Terry had given you hours ago. We can take half each. We can each take half and do the frosting and dusting in one go, right? Wish me luck. Gotcha! Good luck! You both set about this last task with a grim determination. You worked quickly, not sharing any conversation, otherwise distracting from the job at hand. You frosted and dusted, each of the 36 cupcakes being lined up along the counter as they were completed. Oh, drats. Made that 35. A single tin Baxter drop is splattered helpless on the kitchen floor. That was a break in the frosting. A moment of respect for the cake now lost. Then you both shrugged. One extra cupcake wasn't about to make a lot of difference, though Terry might have disagreed, but Terry didn't know wouldn't hurt her. When the surviving cupcakes had been properly outfitted with sugar, more sugar on top, on the existing sugar to be precise, you stepped back and admired your creation. It was obvious that neither of you had any special gift for the art of cake decorating, but hey, they'd probably still taste good if that was the important thing, right? You two fished out 4 airtight plastic containers from a lower drawer and stashed the cupcakes inside. Lids were closed, boxes in the fridge, and finally, the door was shut. It was finished. You had survived. You checked the time. It was almost 2 in the morning. You could have almost cried from joy. Baxter rubbed his tired eyes, then massaged his temples. I have a newfound respect for bakers everywhere. I shall look forward to having all my future events professionally catered, even if it costs a fortune. He stared down at the miserable remains of the casualty cupcake on the tile. Never again. You laughed. It was too funny for you to keep a straight face. Ignore the mess. I'll take care of it. I'll see you back to your house. I fear your parents might be worried you've been out so late. You reassured him it was fine. Your parents knew you were just across the street, and you said it might take a while. You weren't concerned. Baxter was relieved to hear it. Oh, we don't get to eat the cake together. That was something I remember doing. Oh well. The journey home was a blur, disconnected sequences of images. As promised, Baxter walked with you down the steps of his condo and across the road. You remember the stars twinkling overhead, the cup of your shoes on the asphalt as you skipped along. You ambled through your childhood home, in the dark, by feel and instinct alone. You climbed the stairs, tiptoed into your room, approached the bed, and then... You dragged awake with a start. There was a loud knocking coming from your bedroom door.
How are you?
Kiddo, you awake? You were in your bedroom. You're pretty sure about that anyway. 80% positive at least. You're too drowsy to come up with any more creative place to be. But beside the basic and likely fact of existing in your bedroom, you found that you hadn't the faintest idea what was going on. There had been a voice, right? You remembered a voice. Terry phoned the house earlier, but you missed her. There it was again. Your mom's voice. As you slowly blinked awake, realization came to you in stages. You recalled the events of yesterday. The live sensations swarmed in your memory. And frantic afternoon of planning, shopping, and of sugar. Remember the things you and Baxter decided not to talk about. At some point you ended up in your bed and asleep. But you didn't recall setting an alarm. Carrie said she would pick you up at 7 this morning, so she was your wake-up call for the day. You throw off the covers, getting out of bed as noisily as you could manage. Alright, I'm up. Standing in the middle of your room, your mind blanked. Then, you scrunched up your face really tight, allowed your brain to form a coherent thought. Miranda's birthday. It was Miranda's birthday! You hastily changed into a fresh set of clothes, tried to tame your bedhead as best as you could, and then raced downstairs. You bade your mums a quick farewell.
Have fun.
Have fun, sweetie. And say happy birthday to Miranda from us, okay? You had barely enough time to yell a quick "thank you" over your shoulder before you were out of the front door. When you stepped outside, Cove was there waiting for you on the sidewalk. The number of times you'd left the house to find him there, it made you wonder if he lived on your sidewalk. He hadn't the faintest trace of sleepiness on him, but then Cove really did. He was a tiny sun at any time of day, but mornings were when he shone the brightest. You exchanged your usual greetings, but rather than stop to chat, you kept on walking by as you explained to him the cakes were at Baxter's place, and you needed to go pick them up. Oh, alright. Cove didn't tag along, content to leave you to your own devices. That made sense. He wasn't yet at a point of seeking out Baxter's company willingly, and wasn't likely to start right now. When you knocked on Baxter's door, it popped right open like your meager taps had knocked it off its hinges. Hi, Baxter.
Nice to see you.
Good morning. I've been expecting you. You had gotten that impression. He moved aside in the hallway to let you pass, and you strode briskly into the condo. He followed you into the kitchen where you found the cakes in their containers stacked on the countertop. The big day is... finally here. Excuse me. His composure was broken with an enormous yawn, the size you hadn't seen since the coffee shop. Well, at least he's not in his pajamas. Always a nice plus. Hey, I'm just wondering, what time did you go to bed last night?
Honestly.
Truthfully, I didn't make it to bed. You weren't surprised by now. Baxter was just like that. But you still felt a pang of guilt. You were putting him through the ringer with this party. It's not an issue. I felt rather rough after I finished cleaning yesterday, and took the liberty of having a nice long shower. I also prefer to avoid going to bed with damp hair. But no sooner had I gone dry, then I realized I wouldn't be able to get any substantial amount of sleep before I need to be up again anyway. So, I stayed awake instead. Even so, maybe try to take a nap sometime today? I'll see what I can do.
Now.
Enough about me. Let's take these delicacies outside and wait for Terry. She texted me earlier to let me know she was on her way. I imagine you received a similar message. Terry had indeed sent you a message, although it was too early in the day to have been hit with something with so many exclamation points. How much sleep had she gotten? He picked up the 2 waiting boxes, leaving you to carry the remainder. You didn't linger, heading straight for the front entrance. Baxter came behind you with the key. He had trouble with the logistics, eventually resorting to balancing the containers in one hand like a serving tray, before closing and locking the door with the other. Back on the street, Poe was still loitering on the street down by the front gate, blissfully unaware of what the secret party planning committee had gone through for this. Baxter called out to him, full of characteristic good cheer. Good morning, neighbor. Hey. Poe's response was quiet, more distracted than aloof. He was peering with interest at the boxes you were carrying. He had hopes about their contents. The plastic was kind of foggy and translucent, so it wasn't quite possible to tell what was inside. But but Cove intuited that whatever it was edible. The boy was like a shark sometimes.
See?
My friend, you are looking at 35 of the finest freshly baked chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. Cove's face visibly lit up at the word cake, as if he had been offered one already. That's great! I believe Terry is also bringing a proper birthday cake from home as well. Cove's smile grew even wider. He hoped Baxter was taking notes. The waiterman's heart was through his stomach was a phrase he suspected had originally been written about Cove. The promised treats was far and away the most exciting aspect of the party, to at least him. Your childhood companion was so silly, he thought. It provided you with most of a lifetime's worth of entertainment for free. In fact, someone had tried to pay you to have it. Those won't be the only sweets either. There's going to be a chocolate fountain too. Cove's mouth formed with a perfectly round O, and you thought you could see sparkles in his eyes. Maybe there were sprinkles.
Yeah?
What do you guys bring to dip in it? Strawberries, marshmallows, banana slices, pretzels. While Cove was busy listing every single item he thought might reasonably taste good in drenched liquefied chocolate, it struck you that you didn't know the answer to this question was. Was Terry handling that? Were you supposed to have thought of something? You exchanged a nervous glance with Baxter, who shifted uncomfortably from one foot to the other. Very not good. Baxter didn't have a clue either, which could only mean that you hadn't even discussed the matter with Terry yesterday. It was the cupcake quandary all over again. Your shoulder was slumped. You had honestly never anticipated organizing a party would involve coordinating so many different things. Your mind simply couldn't keep track of it all. Seeing your distress, Baxter slipped into his usual mode of cool cucumberness. Let's think about this. Terry took the family home with her, so we can sensibly assume that she has taken charge of it, and, by extension, the offerings to dip into the fountain. However, time isn't on our side, and luck hasn't been either. In order to be 100% absolutely crystal clear about the matter, we should text her and ask. Although, if she's currently driving, he trailed off. End of anxiety managed to mar even his careful school demeanor. You all exchanged a new set of nervous glances, Cove joining in this time. This problem was one even he could worry about. We should grab stuff. Our houses are right here, and you know what Terry's like. If she knew what she was gonna do, she would have said so already. Baxter inclined his head in agreement, bending down to place his boxes of cakes on the ground near the condo's front entrance. He then straightened, pulling himself to his full height.
Fine.
We are going to our homes to retrieve some suitable samplers. Terry will arrive and take us to the venue, and there will be no further problems. There's going to be further problems, Baxter. You should know this by now. His voice resonated with a forceful air of finality. This was perhaps the closest you had been to Baxter losing his temper. Then he added as an afterthought. Unless, of course, we get hit by a car on the way there, but quite frankly, I would be too tired to care about dying by then. Let's sell this. He was right. It had to be done. You simply put down your box of cupcakes next to Baxter's, then the three of you made a run for it, each going your separate ways. You dashed over the road and hopped inside your house, heading directly for the kitchen. You opened cabinets at random, racking your brain to find nothing to bring. Where would go with the chocolate fountain? Usually paid more attention to what Cove was saying earlier, but you did remember to swipe a bunch of ripe bananas off the counter. Then you had the jackpot with the highest shelf of your family's cupboard. Back outside, the three of you examined the spoils of your impromptu raiding party. There were several types of assorted fruits, marshmallows, some cookies, pretzels, and a box of granola bars. The last item, one of cloves, had Baxter chuckling under his breath.
Not bad.
I have to say, I've never heard of granola bars being dipped in a fountain before. Chocolate or otherwise. Hey! Would you rather I brought protein bars instead? Look at that, boys. They're having bonding moments. How adorable. No. This is good. It'll be a novel addition. Not to mention, easy for people to hold without a utensil. Besides, I hardly contributed at all. He gestured to a little timid bag of salted pretzels, his sole addition to the haul. It was all he had to bring. He had saved the day by finding some of your mom's and Liz's special treats, 3 types of cookies and big marshmallows. He had to have to sacrifice for this event as everyone else did. Right. I brought some bags along to put everything in. I can carry those while you two handle the cakes. You and Baxter both praised Cove's quick thinking, gratefully dumped everything into the bags he held out. Then you gathered up the boxes of cupcakes. You mingled about, making an idle conversation about the upcoming party, and trading some anecdotes with Cove about the baking process from the night before. He was especially mournful to hear about the incident that had claimed the 36th cupcake. But there was a telltale sound of a vehicle approaching at speed. The Brooks van pulled up alongside you, and the horn hung loudly in greeting. Carrie had arrived. You could see the enormous grin on her face through the front windshield. She enthusiastically stuck out her arm at the driver's window and waved. Cove beamed and waved back.
Right.
I'll get the door. He pulled open the sliding door, jumping inside and striking up conversation with Terry immediately. You clambered in after him. The car was enormously spacious, but since you filled it up with party equipment yesterday, it had gone cramped. You made room for additional food wherever you could.
Hey, buddies.
Hey, buddies! You ready to make, like, a RPG and party up? Not really. Were you ready to have a chocolate fountain? What did you bring in to dip? What did you bring to dip in it? Being subjected to this accusation right out of the gate knocked Harry completely off her stride. Her expression was utterly baffled. Cove, how did you know about the chocolate fountain? I almost forgot we even had a chocolate fountain. Then Harry cupped her hand to the forehead, eyes wide. Oh, shoot! I forgot to bring stuff for the chocolate fountain! Harry started panicking, but Baxter promptly headed that off at the pass with a casual rap of his knuckles against the external wall of the van. He leaned in through the side door, having stopped short of climbing inside after you and Cove. No need to worry about it, Terry. We thought that might have happened, so we took the liberty of bringing along some of our own offerings. You guys got the guests?
Of course.
Yep, right there. Here. Cove held up one of the bags of extra supplies he was still clutching, jiggling it enticingly. Terry placed a hand heavily to her heart. Crap, you are my saviors. But don't scare me like that. I thought this party was a bust. Do you know how many times I've had that thought in the last 12 hours? You're so lucky you're not doing this by yourself, Terry. Where would you be without us? Where would your fountain be without us? Oh yeah, you got that right. Remind me to treat you to something once this is all over. Heal.
What?
Hold on, you barely did anything, Cove.
So?
So? He is present now, and it was thanks to him we realized what was amiss. Cove speaks for us all, I think. You have yourself a deal, Terry. Fine! Slowly but surely, you felt some of the stress from the last several hours fade away in the company of your friends. Maybe this whole thing would work out in the end. Baxter gently tapped the side of the vehicle again to grab everyone's attention.
Does that sound alright?
With that safely out the way, I'll drive with you three here. I'm going to drive along behind... Oh wait. With that safely out of the way, I'll part with you three here. I'm going to drive along behind in my own car, if that's alright. Okay. Sure. That's cool with me, man. Terry didn't really get what Baxter was doing, but she wasn't about to start raising objections. A brief glance at the two of you confirmed that neither you nor Cove had a clue between you either. He's gonna play Ding Dong Ditch, but without the ding dong. Splendid. I'll see you very soon. And he's probably gonna have a nice nap. He punctuated his farewell by shutting the van door, leaving you and Cove to buckle yourselves in. Harry watched in the rearview mirror as Baxter approached his vehicle and got inside. Once he fastened his seatbelt and flashed her a quick thumbs up, he put the van in drive and pulled out. Baxter followed suit, and the four of you were off. You sat with the boxes of cupcakes stacked precariously in your lap, your arms wrapped around the sides to prevent the tower from toppling. You were hyper-aware of every last dip and bump in the familiar roads, like you had never been before. As you went along, Terry laid out the plan for when you arrive.
All right.
So, the idea is to make sure we get all the snacks and drinks and that stuff ready first, in case we're missing anything else. Anything else. Then we've got to decorate everything as fast as physically possible before noon, basically. That's when people should start showing up. We're gonna order some sandwich platters and salad bowls and stuff on delivery. Those should be there for people to eat along with the cake. Sort of like a late lunch. Oh, and by we, I mean Randy's mom and dad. We're off the hook for that part. She threw her head back and whooped with glee, a sound that was pure and clear as the morning. He felt her infectious enthusiasm. She continued. Anyways, Randy doesn't want to have her party drag on forever, and we'll need time to clean up before the place closes. So we're gonna wrap things up with the event before dinner. When the guests are gone, we'll have until 10 before we get kicked out of the room. Now, I won't sugarcoat it, or even chocolate coat it, team. It's gonna be another long day for us all. Just don't forget, Randy's gonna be amazed, and it'll all be worth the effect. I just know it. You closed your eyes. Leaned back against the seat of the van. Harry was speaking the truth, of course. All of it. Harry was speaking the truth, of course, about all of it. It was going to be another grueling day. But you had your friends, and you were grateful to be huddled in the back of a van surrounded by mountains of bags and 35 cupcakes in your lap. To be alive. To be there. You might have been in some danger of falling asleep again, sitting down for too long, but before you nodded off, Harry was parking the van in the lot outside a large building. It looked like it hosts generic offices rather than parties. You couldn't judge a book by its cover, apparently. We're here! Everybody out! On command, you and Cove dutifully climbed out of the van. Baxter was pulling up in his car, having managed to stick close to Terry the whole way. When your group had reassembled, there was a brief re-exchange of greetings. Terry wasn't in the mood to dawdle and clapped her hands together. It's time to get moving, people! We've got a whole party truck to unload. Aye aye, Captain. As you command, sir.
Sure.
Yeah. You and Terry carried your respective desserts while Cove and Baxter worked together to take the folded table from the back of the van. Terry led the way to the rented room. You peeked your head around the cupcake container and got your first look of the party space. It was perfect for this, and exactly as Terry originally described. Shiny, pretty, and pink. And she was right about the dance floor. I completely just ignored that entire spot. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And it's a really lovely room. On Harry's direction, the boys put the table down in what would eventually be the refreshments section of the party. They extended the legs, flipped it upright, Once it was stable on its feet, Baxter was quick to cover the surface with one of the garden tablecloths. It was ready to go. Ever so carefully, you set your plastic bag of bejeweled consumables down. When the opaque lids came off and revealed the frosted tops were still intact. On closer inspection, you could tell a few cupcakes on the left side. The container was slightly smooshed, but the glitter coating hadn't rubbed off, so no one else would notice the imperfection. Ah! Harry's gleeful exclamation came over your shoulder. He'd caught the side of your and Baxter's handiwork.
Very nifty.
And that's what I'm talking about. The white cake with bits of rainbow confetti in her hands was one of the elements that was out of place with the theme. It was entirely unglamorous, a relic of more childlike birthdays. But that's why your son, Miranda, would adore it. She hadn't completely outgrown old favorites. Terry put it next to the cupcakes and gave you a big thumbs up. You had everything you needed, and the biggest potential disasters had been avoided. You could focus on the rest of the preparation work with confidence. The whole secret party planning committee went for another run of supply gathering. Another table and piles of plastic bags were brought into the venue. On the third round, everything made it inside. You carried a red cooler filled with sparkling cider. Terry hid that under the cover table until later. Then the four of you sat around the lit-up dance floor, taking stuff out of bags and throwing it into barrels. Things for food in one half of the room, decorations on the other. Terry and Cove were both cross-legged. Baxter kept his legs stretched out. It was kind of like being a kid on Christmas. Except, instead of opening gifts, it was things you'd have to set up. Instead of piles of wrapping paper, it was all plastic thank you for shopping bags. You still had plenty of fun, especially after it was somehow decided that Cove Holden was the perfect hook for the feather boas. One after another, it was tossed over his shoulders and into his lap until he looked like a multicolored big bird. Cove accepted the assignment with only a moderate amount of complaining. When the supplies were completely unpacked, Terry surveyed the collection of plates, napkins, utensils, plastic cups, and such. She announced that she would handle the snack and drink arrangement. That's probably a bad idea. You should have some help. She delegated you, Baxter, and Cove to do everything else in the room. After a salute, Terry left the circle and headed to her station. Yeah, I think she should have at least had one person to help. Namely, Baxter. If Cove helped, I'm pretty sure food would be missing. From under his cloak of feathers, Cove got busy snapping off tags, removing casings. You and Baxter followed his lead. The emptied bags were repurposed for holding trash. Peacefully and productively, your little team worked away on different tasks, until a groan of frustration echoed through the air. You glanced towards the opposite side of the room. Terry was shaking the chocolate fountain like she was trying to get a prize to pull out of it. Technical difficulties? Baxter stated the obvious. Everyone in the room was aware of Terry's struggles. Not to worry, I have a bit of experience with those beasts. I should be able to offer assistance. He announced his intentions as he got up. There wasn't much left that had packaging, and you wanted to make sure everything was alright. So, you decided to go see Terry too. Cove was left down to hold the fort. He shrugged and one of the boas slipped down his back. They crossed the floor together, and with a wave, Baxter spoke out to the woman hunched over the table. Hello. Terry sprung up for the sound. Her face was despairing, and she skipped right past the greeting. How do you use this thing? You add chocolate and it's supposed to go, right? Because it's not going. Baxter pursed his lips, cocked a hip, considering. Basically, yes. You add the melted chocolate into the machine and turn it on. It takes a minute, but it should start to flow. You can troubleshoot. Wait. The melted chocolate? She released her clutch on the fountain. Doesn't it melt when you put it in? A pinch of frustration made Baxter wince. It was only momentary. Then he was smiling placently. He had to deliver bad news as pleasantly as possible. To use a chocolate fountain, the chocolate must be melted ahead of time. It won't cook in the machine. Those novelties aren't that sophisticated.
What?
What? I didn't know that. I didn't know you didn't know that. I should have asked in the first place. I should have known. I should have been the one to set it up in the first place. Yeah. Baxter's regrets grew and grew.
Forgive me.
You never used one before. I only have. The both of them dropped their faces with a sigh, though the dramatics of their actions were entirely different levels. Baxter's deduction was subtle, restrained. Meanwhile, Terry couldn't have have exaggerated her misery more. After finding Baxter used his own money to get it, and all the trouble you went to finding trades that could be used in it, found it ended up being a useless metal tower. You had to laugh at how disastrous it all was.
No.
We are all the fool. Baxter straightened himself up, like a natural professional. He viewed the situation from an objective distance, and could give more perspective to the emotional attached Terry. It's not too late quite yet. This is a temporary hitch. I'll take the chocolate somewhere it can be melted and come back. I'll need some way to keep it warm during the trip.
Well...
Perhaps a thermos would work. Would you be able to find a thermos and melt the chocolate before the party starts? He chuckled, a hand over his mouth. That is highly unlikely, but all you need to do is enjoy the other parts of the event. Dance, drink, eat one of the lovely cupcakes. Then he flicked his wrist, gesturing away from his face. I'll return at some point during the evening, and the fountain will go up then. We can even act as if it was intentional to bring it out later.
Very well.
Ideally, the fountain can accompany the serving of the cake. No one has to know it was a problem factor. You are a real champ. He inclined his head, humbly, all while grinning. As flexible as I usually prefer to be, there are situations where I can be, surprisingly, stubborn. This is one of them. Look at his facial expressions. Well, that is our stubborn Baxter there. Our stubborn, smirking boy. I love it. I love him. I think I might love him more than I do Cove. Which is saying something, because Cove was my first love. Oh, wait. All my first loves always get replaced quite quickly. That's a bit of a habit I have. Harry gripped her chest, overcome with such loyalty and dedication.
Thank you.
Beeman, you are the man. We'll finish getting ready and keep the party going until you make it.
Excellent.
Excellent. Godspeed! It couldn't be understated what stroke of luck it was to have someone like Baxter Ward on the committee.
Take care.
Take care. With that, he sauntered off out of the room, a bag of unmelted chocolate in hand, and a smile on his face. In time with shutting the door, Terry smacked her palm against the table definitely. I don't know if that was defiantly or definitely. Definitively. I was wrong. This is going to be the best party I've ever done, no matter what. Because it's going to be the only party I've ever thrown. Never again. Next time someone else is going to be in charge. I'll just help. That's the best idea you've had so far, he teased. I'm glad to have your support. You both snickered. Go on, Callie. He's not gonna let us down, and we can't stop either. Let's finish this. Yeah. You spun around only to come face to face with a fluffy Cove. He had buried himself further in the feather boas, and begun fiddling with a balloon he must have inflated. Right. Cove was left away alone the entire time. He stared awkwardly, as did Terry.
What's wrong?
Is everything alright? We can only hope, Cove. We can only hope. Okay. Cove left it at that, not more informed or assured. And so, the party decorating continued with one less person. More balloons were blown up and placed about, streamers strung up. You even moved the bench from a corner to the center stage. It would act like a makeshift throne for the queen of the day. Finally, all the trash bags were carted out of the event space and tossed into a dumpster outside. They should have just put in the truck for after the party. If only there weren't people in the way, I would love to show you the background. The three of you returned and stood in the center of the now cleared dance floor to admire your handiwork. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, the room gleamed.
Neat.
It looks good. It does! It actually does! Harry was beaming wider than you'd ever seen. After a day and a half of almost non-stop preparations, you pulled something pretty great. It was certainly a homemade arrangement by a group of friends at the last minute, but that was half of the charm. Your efforts were at ease to see. You sat in a row along the edge of the stage, resting and waiting before the big event. No one talked. Cove tapped his foot. Until, finally, Harry's phone went off. Ah! He read the message fervently. He murmured in haste. It's from Jude! The guests are arriving! I repeat, the guests are arriving!
Alright.
Miranda has siblings, her parents, uncles and cousins, friends and other people are going to be in this room any minute. Be ready. Okay, that's the background. It looks so cute. I don't know why only a certain amount of glasses have pearls, but I mean, whatever floats your boat, I guess. Terry shot from the back of the room to the front in a matter of seconds. She had the music on. Then, she strung a few bags along her arm. Those ones hadn't been used for trash. Cove put accessories in them for safekeeping, after he was done wearing all the bows himself, of course. With that hanging over her, Terry stood and waited at the entrance. You and Cove joined her. Noises could be heard from on the other side. Cove's hands clenched. Terry clasped on his shirt, like she was about to meet her maker. Then, the door slowly began to open. On the other side, a small crowd was huddled together. At the head of it was Miranda herself. Oh my gosh! The dazzling pink party room was reflected in Miranda's big, sparkling eyes. Terry threw her bag-laden arms into the air, none of them falling off. None of them fell off, fortunately. Surprise! 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 As spoken, Miranda was overcome with surprise. Terry and Callie and Cove?
Yeah.
That's right! What do you think of your party this year? Terry queried her friend eagerly, though the quickness of the question was partially motivated by a discreet anxiety. Miranda blinked, and she knew. Apparently one of the ones who put this event. She answered with a wholehearted appreciation. I love it! It's amazing! Way nicer than I would have ever thought. And we surprised you? You really didn't know what was going on? You really didn't know what we were up to? You're not just being nice?
You're really nice.
You definitely got me. I didn't think this much would happen. Especially since it's not my 18th or my 21st, or anything like that. It's only 19. What? All your birthdays are a big deal. Brandy giggled at Terry's assertion, while her eyes were closed and you realized Terry's shared look. This was more important than Miranda realized. Thanks a ton! This is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't even know it. My god. Cove let out a relieved breath. Terry pumped a victorious Harry pumped a fist victorious, and the bag she was holding flung around. Miranda's secret birthday bash was a hit. More and more guests gathered and wandered about. They openly admired the room. Harry nodded, pleased.
Woo!
It's party time! Let's use the stuff we got. She dumped the contents of each sack onto an empty end of the table for everyone to access. A bunch of sunglasses cutted out with the boas. On top of the pile was the white one. Harry stashed that back in the bag and threw it under the tablecloth. He mentally gave her your thanks for the save. That was obviously for Baxter, and nobody else. Miranda gave a clap. It was the delight after another day. Harry sported sunglasses and a feather boa. Cove just went for a pair of sunglasses. He had enough to wear in those boas already. Or maybe it wasn't any fun when he was only allowed to take one. Miranda got her own oversized shades, but instead of a boa, she was granted the special birthday girl sash apart from the other attendees. You were good on accessories, others could have fun with them. Oops, wrong mouse button. No one cared that you stuck out like a sore thumb. Or rather, you were noticeable, because you were the only finger that wasn't standing out. Still, that was fine. All decked out for a party, Harry directed Miranda's attention to what else was on the tables. She was charmed anew when she saw the waiting rows of fake champagne that outright stunned her. Eyes landed on the display of glittery cupcakes.
So great.
That's so pretty! Did you buy those? Nope. They're homemade? Really? They look like they're from a pro bakery. Thank you! Can I have one now, or are we waiting until it's cake time? That's your cool birthday girl! He beamed. It was time for the Queen to make her decree.
Fun!
Then, I declare that we can all eat cupcakes right now! What a gracious host.
Sounds good.
Works for me. In unison, the three of them reached out for a treat. He took a cupcake and bit into it right away. The fluffy cake and creamy frosting were all delicious, and all the sweeter knowing how much work had gone into it. Harry liked the shiny frosting first. That was almost intriguing to her. Miranda broke the bottom of the cake and stuck it into the frosting to make a cupcake sandwich before she took a bite. She'd seen it in a video one time and done it since. Both crammed half the dessert into his mouth at once. They each had their unique ways of enjoying their confection. But, enjoy it they did. It was too bad Baxter wasn't there to see the results of your shared labor. You'd at least let him know all the troubles weren't in vain. While the snacking occurred, he caught sight of Jude in the crowd of guests. He had tied a blue bow around his forehead. The feathers hung down, partly covering his eyes. But his bangs were so long, his view was always partly obstructed, so it didn't make much of a difference. Miranda's mom, dad, her two older sisters were going around the room taking pictures and videos. Whenever cameras ended up pointing in their general direction, Harry and Miranda posed like superstars. Seeing the entire Eckert family enjoy themselves really made the effort worthwhile. The cupcakes were finished, and the crumbs were wiped away. Then, hand in hand, Harry and Miranda hit the dance floor. Cobb's hand, meanwhile, hovered over the butter of cupcakes. He considered taking another, but his fingers closed into a fist. He resisted the temptation. He dragged his head in the direction of your friends, encouraging you to come with. He left the snack table to go the edge of the lit-up floor. Didn't inch past that border. Clapping and calling out to Miranda and Terry was as much of the partying as he was capable of. You stuck by Cove. He smiled over at you when it became obvious you weren't going anywhere. It was nice, the way your group could neatly split in half and still have fun. More and more guests crowded on the bright lights at the center, like moths to a flame. Carrie whipped and twirled her boa, and Miranda's sunglasses kept almost flying off her face with the quick-footed moves she was pulling. After a couple of songs, Carrie dragged Miranda to the front so she could sit on the throne you'd prepared for her. Time for a chair! Being the center of attention normally embarrassed Randy, but today she could ignore those inclinations. Wait there, Randy. Cove, help me get the drinks around. She searched for you along the outskirts of the room, and winked when your eyes met. You've got to make up for not helping at all yesterday. Fine. They got to it, pouring and then passing the drinks around the room. Cove offered one from the first batch to you. A grim-faced lady saw what was going on. She silently helped to give out the fake glasses of champagne. She knew the drill without being told. You recognized the woman from your Miranda bashes. It was nice seeing her again, even though you barely said 2 words to each other in all those years of attending the same birthdays. Thanks to those events from those 3, most people had a cup ready to go. At the front stage, Terry passed the guest of honor a glass too. It was time. To the birthday girl! Happy birthday, Miranda! Dozens of sparkling drinks glimmered under the shining lights as they were raised in a toast. People drank and clinked glasses with whoever they were up in elbows with. You only held it for the chair and put it back on the table. With a half-full plastic champagne glass, Miranda leapt from off her seat off the stage and landed into the crowd of the dance floor. That got a second round of cheering. Harry followed right after her, and the celebration resumed in full force. Cove still didn't quite dance himself, but he did bop his head to the music and tap a foot. He swayed along with the music, watching the festivities. Like Cupcake, you relished the moment in your own ways. That afternoon, the party to end all parties, better or for worse. The music inside her flowed without stopping until, "You're Randy!" Miranda's big brother slipped through the cracks in the wall of the dancers until he reached the height of the floor. "Booter, it's cake time!"
Woo!
Yay! Miranda gave a final gleeful twirl on her tiptoes. The birthday sash fluttered. Harry waved at you and Cove.
Oh yeah!
"Let's eat!" The gang reunited back at the refreshment tables. And there, along with Miranda's parents, setting out the sandwich platters for lunch, was another figure, distinctly monochrome. A distinctly monochrome figure. He acted entirely at ease behind the table, busy doing a final check over the chocolate fountain. It was flipped on, and slowly liquefied chocolate began to trickle out. Baxter did it. "Is that Baxter?" Miranda appeared closer. He'd come face to face with an unexpected acquaintance in the gathering of the people she knew best. "Yep, he was here before too." Oh, why is he setting up a chocolate fountain for my birthday party?" Harry's hands went to her hips, and she came out with the whole story. "B-Man was a crucial member of the secret party planning group who made this whole thing happen."
Really?
"What? Really?" Brenda looked back and forth between Baxter and Terry at a loss.
Uh-huh.
"Baxter is nice, and I think he can't stand to see an event fail spectacularly or something. But for whatever reason, he wanted to help out. He took us to the store to get supplies, made cupcakes, set up decorations, and did just about everything for that chocolate fountain. It had to be mixed like 3 times. Baxter kept his professional, polite demeanor the entire conversation, despite the fact he had to have heard what they were talking about. Feigning innocence, he came around to the other side of the table to properly greet the guest of honor.
Hello.
"Hello. Happy birthday."
Thank you.
Thank you." He barely knew what to say after finding out how much he had contributed. But her gaze dropped, and she tugged at the sash self-consciously. A moment before, she was the life of the party, embracing the cheesy glitz with gusto, but in front of him, she felt childish. Baxter gave a considered smile. "You should be able to manage the fountain now that it's running. I hope the rest of the party will be a lovely time." You're leaving already? Her question was barely a peep. She had to muster all her confidence to say that much.
Yes.
Yes. My job is done. I was only here for that. What? As if the floor dropped out from under you. Baxter had worked as hard as anyone else to make this party happen. He brought on all-nighter for it. He was just gonna leave? What could you say against it? Of course, he couldn't invite himself to Miranda's surprise birthday, and she never gave him a chance to. And she never gave a chance to give him permission to attend. Staring at him, he was unruffled as ever. Baxter knew all along he wouldn't get to experience the results of the hard work, and did it anyway. But, well, she released a hold on her accessory and looked into Baxter's face directly. It was really thoughtful of you to do all this. You should stay and enjoy the party too. You are a gracious host. His words held up with sincere appreciation, the welcome extended, enough to get your hopes up. But I can't do that. The rejection was equally admirable. But that didn't make you less disappointing. You don't owe me anything. Certainly not a place among your real friends at your birthday party. There is no reason to feel guilty. Now, if you'll excuse me, take care. With a kindly wave that left no room for further arguments, Baxter breezed past your group. That was it. He was gone. Terry began to frown at some point. She had been willing to do anything to make Miranda's birthday great, but it came at a greater cost than she thought. Terry powered job after job on Baxter's shoulders because he was just another part of the group in her mind. She realized too late that he wasn't and never had been. Cove could only silently rub the scar on his left arm, and worst of all, Randy's cheer hadn't returned after Baxter's vanishing act was completed. He had sincerely wished her to be happy, but that was understandably hard to get into the celebratory spirit after that kind of revelation. It shouldn't have ended like that. It didn't have to end like that. You wouldn't let it end like that. If Baxter wasn't going to be at Miranda's birthday, there had to be something else he could be a part of. He mentally grappled at the problem and cast your eyes about, trying to grasp at any hint of an idea. Then, Terry said something earlier. Then, something Terry said earlier came back to you. Terry? All three of the others glanced your way. It was the first crack in the awkward silence, and that was enough for Cove and Miranda to also take interest. Yeah? Could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I owe my life for making sure this wasn't a disaster. I'll help you out with whatever you want.
Me too.
I'll help too if there's something I can do. Thanks. Miranda's birthday was just gonna be for a couple more hours. It'll be done before the place closes, and Terry said we've got room for the entire day. So, tonight, after all the guests are gone, let's use this venue for an after party. No, a totally different party. Another party? He tilted his head incredulously. Yeah, another party, not a birthday. It could be our very own summer soiree. And it can be just for our group. Me, Brandy, Terry, Cove, and Baxter. We could try to set aside some food and drink for later and clean up the mess when everyone else has left. And we'll have soul music at this event. You know how much he wanted to dance, and I'll do that with him. You're a great dancer after all. Yeah! The first to affirm the idea was the one originally most trepidatious about Baxter being there, but she answered with confidence.
Let's do it.
I'll be a member of the secret planning party committee for this surprise. If he can do it for me, I can do it for him. And maybe Terry was right. We could all use more friends. Cove did not look convinced of all of that, though he can disagree with the main suggestion. Okay. The wide grin forward at Harry's face, seeming this new plan forming. We should catch him before he's gone. He might not get the message if he escapes now. I'm on it. See you, and thanks. He rushed through the guests coming in on all sides, clamoring for their lunch. Bursting out of the party room was like waking from a dream. The pink extravaganza was replaced with a plain white hallway, and only the sounds of your footsteps were echoing off the linoleum floors. You'd been able to forget the normal world for a while, but it had been there the entire time, going on as usual from the other side of the door. But Baxter wasn't there either. He kept going through the lobby and to the parking lot. His hair might have been with the black tarmac and the white-painted lines, but the camouflage can fool you. He was at the end of the road, moments away from getting into his car. Baxter! He turned around at the sound of your voice. Pushing yourself further, you shot down the wide open space.
I swear.
Callie, did something happen? Wait, please tell me it's not the truck we found again. Your gates slowed immensely with the final feet, and you came to a stumbling stop in front of Baxter. He waited patiently for an answer. No, nothing is wrong. Well, that's a relief. You could have fooled me. However, you shouldn't be running out of the building if there's no issues. Go enjoy that damn fountain! Baxter's grin was teasing, harmless, though you couldn't miss the layer of genuine frustration of the student machine after all the trouble it had caused. He smoothed his face and shot out in fluid motions. I'll be fine. Perhaps I'll take a nap. I'm going back. I just have to ask you something first. I see. I'm all ears. Okay, so you've already done a lot for this party and us, but if you're not too exhausted, could you come here again tonight, around 7 p.m.? Baxter's almost unshakable smile was lost to suspicion. Not good. This was a surprise you were planning. He threw out the first cover that popped into your head before he could sneak the obvious question on the tip of his tongue. Oopsies. The thing is, I don't want to ride home with Harry. Oh. It worked? His expression softened. It worked. Baxter was convinced you needed him. All doubts were settled. Certainly. Callie, I'll be here at 7 on the dot. You gave him a quick kiss. Your lips brushed against his face in a tiny peck. It was only for a second, but his warmth lingered even after, and so did the sparkle in his dark eyes. Thanks. I'll see you soon.
It's settled.
Yes, you will. Baxter departed from you yet again, but as you saw him off, you felt good about it. This time he didn't. Baxter departed from you yet again, but as you saw him off, you felt good about it. This time, him leaving didn't mean he was simply gone. It meant you had have time to prepare for his return. You found your way back to the party room, just in time to sing happy birthday. Sliding along the rest of the group, you acted as if you never left. Could have chuckled and quietly welcomed you back. Pardon what? Harry's confetti cake was placed in front of Brandy, at the head of the table. The 19 candle you picked up from the store yesterday was lit by her dad. When she blew it out, the room filled with cheers. Her friends and family ate sandwiches, salads, and cake. The chocolate fountain was a huge hit too. Thank goodness. Miranda, Cove, and Terry, and yourself each squirreled away an extra plate of desserts and snacks for the secret party. Soon, the guests got a second wind, and more dancing commenced. Though you and your friends took it easy on the sidelines instead, every single one of you could enjoy yourself to the fullest now. And you did for the final couple of hours of the party. When it got closer to dinner time, guests began to trickle out little by little. Many of them came to hug Miranda and wish her the best once more. That's how Miranda's 19th birthday concluded, and how the preparation for the summer soiree began. You informed the team when Baxter would be arriving, and how they couldn't dally. The four of you, plus Miranda's parents and siblings, cleaned up the trash, took down the decorations that indicated birthday was going on. On one of the tables and sound system was left in place of the summer soiree. You also recovered the white boa from under the table where Terry hid it earlier. It was still in pristine condition. Perfect. At 6:50, Miranda kindly used the last of her birthday girl power to ask her family to get out of there, so her and her friends could have their own party. The Eckerd clan accepted being kicked to the curb, and graciously made themselves scarce. Jude held up the peace sign as he shut the door behind himself and the rest of the folks taking their leave. At 6:55, he double-checked the dance floor for any debris. It was spotless. At 6:58, he wondered about the room, trying to pick out the best place to stand and wait. Terry teasingly wondered aloud if that's what she looked like before Randy arrived. It was. At exactly 7, the door cracked open. "Excuse me, may I come in?" Unsure of what he was walking into, Baxter paused at a precipice. Precipice? Enter, Baxter Ward! That was all the encouragement he needed. Baxter came into the party room. He smiled graciously at the cluster of people silently standing on the edge. God damn it! I'm reading too much today. That was all the encouragement he needed. Baxter came inside the party room. Okay, I'm just going to add random words at this point. He smiled graciously at the cluster of people silently standing ahead of him. Cove leaned over stiffly like a balloon slowly to fainting. He whispered awkwardly into your ear. So, what are we supposed to say now? Are we shouting surprise for this? Right, let's all shout it. He whispered back. Okay. Terry, Randy, now. Surprise! The unexpected, not to mention delayed exclamation at his entrance gave Baxter a start.
Welcome.
How good of you to come, Baxter. With the way Terry rubbed her hands together and the vague sense of satisfaction in her tone, she was given the impression he'd fallen into a nefarious trap. Now all the guests have finally arrived. We can begin.
What?
What do you mean? I think all the guests have left by this point. Baxter had a generously low level of confusion at this strangeness, merely raising his brow rather than a hasty retreat. Even though Baxter was probably the last person he knew who would be scared off by business shenanigans, he decided to avoid any potential misunderstandings. What? Can't you tell? There's obviously a summer soiree happening. A summer soiree, you say? You got it! This event for Miranda's birthday is no more! She dramatically crossed her arm over the other and flung them outwards as if swearing the entire concept of birthday. As if swearing off the entire concept of a birthday. Terry had to rent the room for the entire day, even though we only needed it until the middle of the afternoon. So we decided to use the last few hours that we have here for another party, one that's for the group of us. So, you're invited. You parted from the bunch to position yourself right in front of the stunned Baxter. He didn't flinch as you draped the white feather belt over his shoulders. Look at him! He looks so unamused. I find it so funny. Baxter's mouth opened wildly as he stared up at your face. He tentatively lifted up a hand, brushing his fingers against the feathers, drowning him. He had to check that it was truly there. Then, with eyes still wide, a delighted grin flew across Baxter's face.
To be honest,
I must admit, I didn't suspect it at all. I never should have doubted your ability to throw a surprise party. Terry, Randy, and Cove crowded around the two of you to reform the group with its newest member. Didn't I tell you the best way to have something be a real surprise is if you do it all at the last second so no one has even a chance to put it together?
you're very good.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes. You did. I suppose there are some advantages to the strategy after all. And so, the summer soiree commenced. You hung around almost the barren snack table. It was the only piece of furniture left from Randy's party. There weren't even chairs, mostly. Miranda joked that Baxter could take the throne now if he wanted to. That part came with the room. He courteously declined. Dinner was simple. More sandwiches and salad. It was mostly a quiet meal, but that's exactly what was needed. At 7 a.m., you left to prepare Miranda's birthday. 12 hours later, you were still there, lazily enjoying another's company. After an extremely long day, couldn't be overappreciated. Cove wiped the crumbs from his mouth after he was done eating, and then addressed Baxter without being spoken to for a change. There's dessert for you too. A slice of the cake and one of the cupcakes. Thank you. I'd like to try the cake Terry made, but I've had quite enough of the cupcakes. Fair enough. He was well acquainted with the confections, even if he had never taken a bite. then can I have it?
Absolutely.
Please do. Don't forget the chocolate fountain. Terry jumped in with another sampling suggestion. That contraption was Baxter's second, arguably more formidable enemy of the event. It's still going strong. You've got to try it. However, he chuckled. All right, if you insist. That is one small chocolate fountain. It looks rather interesting, though. For the trouble it caused, the fountain had indeed kept blowing as the night went on, and the dozens of treats passed through it. That was the only part of the equation that was still in good shape, however. The platter of goodies alongside of it had become a plate of baddies. What remained was some snap pretzels, fractions, scrapes of fruit, mostly a full-sized granola bars. Cookies and marshmallows had, to know the shock of no one, been more of the popular choice. They were long gone before the first party had even finished. Not one to complain, Baxter plucked up the granola bar and slipped one end into the rippling sea of liquid chocolate he melted himself. Cove, meanwhile, wasn't going to settle for that, despite being the one who brought them. He tore a piece of his second cake of the night and stuck that into the fountain. His fingers got coated as well. Baxter languidly watched Cove make a careless mess. You know, the food will get crumbling into the chocolate and... never mind. Smirking, Baxter moved his bar from the fountain and flipped it around. He leaned his backside against the edge of the table.
Honestly.
What does it matter if the chocolate clumps? I couldn't care if the fountain broke at this point. The flame was punctuated with a satisfied bite into the chocolate-covered granola bar. It's good. No matter how definitely he made the statement, it was hard to tell if he was being serious or not. He tried dunking a piece of the leftover cake. This late in the game, there was no rules left, but there was still a challenge to achieve. When you put the cake under the floor, it just collapsed into the pool. And if you tried throwing it directly into the basin, it got stuck there and tore off. He didn't give up no matter how many crumbs filled the fountain. Sure, it wasn't ideal, but it was fun. When some pickings became non-existent pickings, even the most daring among you called it quits on the fountain. Kara used the final chance to fulfill her most beige urge, sticking her tongue directly into the stream of the chocolate. Miranda giggled and squirmed at how wrong it was. Kara gave a thumbs up. Putting your body parts into that contraption was recommended, apparently. All right. Harry cleaned herself off before making a new announcement. This isn't a birthday celebration, so you know what that means. It's not weird to have slow dancing as our main event.
Huh?
Pardon me? Dancing. This party of five is going to have slow dancing. Baxter questioned what he was hearing. Not in a fun, this is too good to be true way, but the tone was almost accusatory, like you had gone him in a trap after all. I began to get the impression this impromptu event was less for the entire group and more for me specifically. Once again, the group became divided between the four of you, the other, and one outsider. And, as always, it was self-imposed. Baxter's arms folded again as his gaze wandered over each of the faces around him. He was searching for a reason. He wanted to know Baxter's motivation for his own behavior. Yeah, it mostly is. How's the plan? But why? He didn't have to. He insisted immediately, defensively. The chilly reception hadn't hampered Terry whatsoever. Perhaps she took him for being shy in the spotlight. You wandered away and hit the music, setting it to a lovely tune with a gentle pace. A nice enough song that could smooth out any of the bumps. Baxter remained defiant, waiting motionlessly for a response to what he said. He couldn't and wouldn't accept the situation. Under that kind of pressure, Miranda glanced at the floor, so sheepishly turned from Baxter to look at you for guidance. I see. That was enough of a hint to all be clear. You were the planner of this party. Of course, that's how it happened, was what you read in his expression. Baxter no longer traded stares among the crew. He didn't see anyone else in the room except for you. Surprise again? He took in a deep breath through his nose. He curled his ringed fingers into a fist. You'd have to take the initiative this time. For the second time that night, you approached Baxter. Then you offered him your hand. May I have this dance, Mr. Ward? A crease in his brows cracked Baxter's hard expression. It was frustrating and wonderful to him, and you had your suspicions on why he struggled with the gesture. Delicately, and still without another word, he accepted. In the moment, Baxter could let go of his concerns by holding on to you. Hand in hand, you walked to the center of the lit room. The lit up floor. There we go! I can English, I swear! The room was so quiet, you could make out bits of conversation the others were having. Harry offered to dance with either Randy or Cole. Both of them refused with varying degrees of nervousness. Harry could only laugh. She knew it was coming. Out of the normal group, you might have been bold enough to do that with her, but you already had a partner. That meant you had the whole space to yourselves. Though, at first, you could only prompt Baxter into swaying. Oh my god, so many notifications on YouTube. Though at first you could only prompt Baxter into swaying in place. With time and encouragement, the dance moved onward until Baxter swept around the room with you, like the pro he was. You followed along with his steps effortlessly. When the song ended, the enchantment both of you were under vanished. Baxter settled himself enough to speak to you.
Well...
So, he murmured pleasantries ahead the spreadeth away from your face. Was the birthday party a success? Everyone had a great time. Especially Miranda. Baxter's lips quirked. It must have been a relief to know for certain that nothing fell apart once he made his retreat. I hope you get some well-deserved sleep after this. Sorry for keeping you up even longer. Don't be. This is more than worth the trouble. Then a playful littering in his tone. Oh, and before I forget to mention it, I'm thrilled to attend another summer soiree with you. Me too. His eyes closed and placed one foot back. Only for a second he thought better of that and brought it back in line with his other leg. I'm not lying when I say this is one of the grandest occasions I've attended. Confused by the man wearing a $2 feather boa and standing in the final remnants of a birthday party thrown together in 2 days. That scene had to be a far cry from the formal events he was certain he had attended throughout his life, before coming to Sunset Bird. Yet, you didn't doubt the earnestness of his words for a second. I apologize if I did not give that impression initially. I hate to be a bother. And you went into so much trouble, you nearly forgotten that you hadn't let go of each other after the dance, until Baxter's grip around your hand tightened. It doesn't matter now. The effort is sincerely appreciated. In a way, Terry had been right. Even with Baxter, Ward could be bashful in certain regards. That was okay. You were just glad he could enjoy himself in the end. You kissed him. We're going to just kiss our suitor because, hey, might as well make the most of it while we've still got him. Am I right? You were sleepy and relieved you could finally just be happy with your charming suitor. He accepted the affection readily this time, pressing into you sweetly.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to your party, Callie. His eyes were still dancing, even if his feet had stopped. But his words carried the weight of finality with them. there was a joy he found in the fleetingness of it all. Just like this might be the last big party with Terry, Miranda, and Co. It could very well be the last time, the first and final time for Baxter too. He had accepted that with certainty. Baxter was always so ready to leave the parties in the town hall. He did everything that he came with. He did everything that he came his. Oh my god, I really can't English right now. He did everything that came his ways as temporary, to merely be embraced while he could, then to freely release. Even though you knew that, even if you'd never done anything differently, you hoped you would keep having a reason to return, as long as you reached out to him. Now, yeah. I managed to get rid of the white blinking bit, which just confused me for a sec. It's like, what? Bye!